Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Was Imprisoned and Was Zeldris and Estarrosa Brother movie. Before we start, please go support MeliodasElReyDemonio for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken characters' gender, but of course Issei is a male. A great story between these three brothers who by fate are separated but their destiny is to meet again. Chapter Scoop. The faction meeting had just ended and two important events had occurred. A new threat from the terrorist group known as the Cows Brigade and the betrayal of Vali, who revealed himself to be a direct descendant of the original Lucifer. After these events, the faction leaders pondered what to do to defeat their enemies. The leader of the Surzich's demons, Lucifer, offered an idea that could be their salvation or their downfall. Surzich's. We could ask for help from him, looking seriously at the other leaders. Azazel. Who are you referring to? He would ask calmly. Ajuka. You're not thinking about looking seriously at his friend. Surzich's. That's right, we'll ask Issei HYOUDOU for help, seeing the reaction of the other leaders who would become tense and serious. Azazel. It's a very bad idea to do something like that. I would say seriously, it's very likely that he will betray us and end up killing them. Michael. There is no other option, we will have to risk it, even if it is your fault. Surzich's looking at his ally who would be thoughtful. Surzich's. Fine, but we'll have to call them. A few hours would pass where the leaders would continue with their talk, and at one point the group of Rias would appear in a magic circle, since they had been called by the Redeed. Note. The one who has Drag is a boy named Fur, who is also in Rias' group, occupying the place that Issei had in the original story. Rias. What's wrong, brother? Worried. Surzich's. We'll need your help, Rias, we'll go visit Issei, surprising the Redeed. They would all arrive at the great prison of the underworld, the faction leaders, and Rias' group would be walking through the disgusting prison in which there was everything: renegade demons, almost dead demons, and others who were totally crazy who tried to take Rias and the girls to make them theirs. They would all walk for several minutes guided by guards until they reached the last prison, which was at the lowest. Guard. Here we are. Surzich's saw me standing next to a huge steel door covering for any threat. The large red-haired demon would approach and stretch his hand towards the door and remove a magic that sealed that door, opening it, and inside it, a large concrete cell with a kind of purple smoke on the walls and ceiling would be seen. Michael. What is that? He would ask, confused. Surzich's. It is a spell that the ancient counselors put for this prison, which was not designed for Issei, but for something much older than him entering the cell. Azazel. And what does that do? I would ask. Surzich's. Makes anyone who is not authorized to enter that room lose their magic and become totally defenseless. Entering, you can enter since I am giving you permission right now, entering everyone and standing in front of Issei. This young demon was in a chair, his hands and feet tied by chains, his eyes looking down, his outfit all torn and with blood all over his body. Rias. Issei, I would say, sad, seeing the brown-haired boy. Issei. That voice whispering as he raised his gaze and saw Rias. You. Surzich's. Hello Issei, we came to talk to you, I want to make a deal, approaching the chestnut. Issei. Don't come closer, Surzich's, or you might regret it, with a sadistic voice where the Redeed would stop suddenly. What do you want? Surzich's. We will let you go. Issei. Saying that, the brown-haired boy would open his eyes a little, but in exchange, you will have to help us defeat a terrorist group that threatens to destroy everything. Issei. I see, they just want to use me, and after that they will lock me up again, but I don't care, as long as they leave my brothers alone. In a calm tone, head down. Everyone would remain silent, no one would say anything for a few seconds, until Rias would approach Issei slowly and very nervously. Rias. Issei. Yo, trying to touch his head. At that moment everyone would feel a great power, they felt as if everything was shaking, and a great chill would pass through their entire body, until the brown-haired man would speak. Issei. I said not to come closer. Raising his gaze, he laughed with great darkness. Seeing that face, everyone would be scared since that power was superior to that of the leaders, but the most affected was Rias, whose legs were shaking and she could barely stand until Fur, the Secretary, would take her by the arm and make her back up, where Issei would calm down and everything would return to normal. Issei. As you wish, Surzich's, but if I find out that my brothers are still being persecuted, I will kill them all myself. Lowering his gaze again. The leader of the demons would give the order to the guards to release Issei, and after so many years he would finally be able to stand up and move freely without chains. Everyone would walk to the entrance of the prison. Rias would try in many ways to make contact with Issei, but she was so scared that she couldn't. The group, as they passed through the cells again, would realize that the prisoners were calm and many were scared. Noticing that the one responsible for this was Issei, who was releasing a magical power that scared them. Surzich's. Okay, from here we can teleport to my castle, creating a large magic circle and teleporting everyone. Take a seat, Issei. We need to make some last arrangements. Guys, seeing Rias' team wait outside, please, only the faction leaders and Issei remain. Issei. What do they need? I would ask seriously. Surzich's. We'll tell you everything we know about this terrorist group, starting the talk. Meanwhile outside the room, Rias and the others would be waiting until at one point, Fur couldn't hold it in any longer and would ask Rias a big question that would catch the attention of the other girls, who were wondering the same thing. Fur. Hey but you, who is that guy and why do you treat him that way? I would ask. Rias. Sigh fine, I'll tell them because at some point they'll find out sad. Flashback. We see in the Great School of Demons the three demon brothers known as Issei, older brother, Eststerosa, middle brother, and Zeldrus, younger brother, walking through the halls of the Great Academy until they would meet their great friend. Zeldrus. Hello Rias, the 6-year-old would say. Rias. Hey guys, what are you doing? The 9-year-old girl would ask. Eststerosa. We were heading to our classrooms, the 8-year-old boy would respond in a calm tone. Rias. I see, looking at Issei out of the corner of her eye, who, upon noticing the Redeed's gaze, would blush and turn to look out the window. Hey guys, tonight there's going to be a friend's party in the park with a kind smile. Zeldrus. Really? Excited. Rias. Yes, if you want you can go saying goodbye to her friends and going to her classroom. Zeldrus. Hey bro, did you hear that? There's going to be a party tonight. Seeing his brother looking out the window. Eststerosa. Did you blush again? She would ask with great calm. Issei. Hey, shut up, you pink one. Turning to look at his brother with a big blush. Night fell, the three brothers were already in the park waiting for all their friends since there was absolutely no one there and it was very dark. Zeldrus. Hey bro, what time are the kids coming? He would ask something sad. Estterosa. This smells fishy to me. Issei with some seriousness. Issei. Me too, and I think I know the reason why. Watching in the distance how several figures appeared from the fog. Estterosa, Zeldrus Heidi would say, and when the two boys saw the seriousness of their brother they would obey him, going behind some trees. A few seconds would pass in Surziches, right next to Rias and some guards were the people who would appear with an intimidating aura. Rias. I'm sorry Issei, she would say with sadness. Issei. What's wrong Rias? He would ask nervously upon seeing the Demon King. Surziches. I, the Demon King Surziches Lucifer, sentence you to prison by order of the counselors. Trying to locate his other two brothers. At that moment the guards would approach Issei to arrest him, but he would get serious and suddenly release his power, which would make the guards retreat. Quickly Surziches would create a barrier to cover everyone from the incredible dark power that the child released. Guard. What incredible power? Surziches. That's why the counselors ordered me to keep him prisoner. That child has a potential never seen before and he doesn't have to be released or he could be corrupted, increasing his power to protect himself from the power of the 10-year-old boy. Issei. Guys turning to where his brothers are. Escape from here, I don't want you to get hurt with a smile. Zeldrus. What? Wait no, trying to go help his brother, but Estterosa would grab him by the arm and take him away at high speed since she understood Issei's situation very well. Guard. Look, there go the other two. But by saying that Issei would get angry and use his power more, causing an explosion. He would be captured by Surziches, the brothers would escape and would be fugitives, searched for throughout hell for years, while Issei would be taken to the worst prison in the underworld. Chapter The Brothers. Surziches. Okay, now that we've resolved some issues, let's move on to something more secondary, girls. Calling Rias and the others who would enter. Rias. What's wrong bro? I would ask. Surziches. Very well Issei, from today we will enroll you in the Kuo Academy so we can reach you if we need your help. Issei. TSH, whatever you want, but don't bother me. Looking angrily at the girls. Surziches. Okay, take it easy. Rias. Brother, I wouldn't finish speaking because Issei would interrupt her. Issei. Before going to the human world I will go to my hometown to see my parents. Standing up and leaving. Azazel. Are you sure you didn't call him Surziches? The fallen one would ask. Surziches. Yes, he should find out the news for himself. A young demon of approximately 19 years would fly at great speed towards his town, but would realize that it was destroyed, realizing that there was no one living there and returning to the castle of the Demon King, who would tell him that his parents had died in a fight, but they did not know against whom. So they would go to the human world, the other leaders would return to their territories, Surziches would buy Issei a house and enroll him in the academy to be a student. The first day would arrive for the young Issei who was in the same class as Rias. He would be called by the teacher inside the class to introduce himself to his new classmates. Issei. My name is Issei, with a calm but dark tone. The girls upon seeing him would immediately fall in love with him for his great beauty, and the boys would get angry because the brunette caught the attention of all the girls, but what made them the angriest was that while the prettiest girl was also looking at him. So the class would pass until the bell rang for break. Issei would stand up and try to leave the class, but three boys would stand in front of him with evil intentions. Boys 1. Where do you think you're going? I would ask with a confident smile. Boy 2. Why so serious, huh? Do you think you're superior just because you're the new kid? Bringing his face closer to Issei's to provoke him. Issei. Step aside with tranquility in his words. Many of the students in the class were worried about Issei, since those 3 boys were in the boxing class and were afraid they would do something to the new kid. Boy 3. What did you say, stupid? Angry and throwing a punch to the brown-haired boy's face. In a quick movement, he would grab the boy's fist with great ease, surprising everyone, and turning his arm a little, he would throw the boy out the window behind him. This would shock everyone since he did it with great ease and also because their class was on the 3rd floor. The other 2 boys would be scared, but Issei would jump, put his palms on their faces, and fly out the hallway window, but before slamming the boy's head into the ground, he would stop a few centimeters away so as not to kill them. The brown-haired boy would stand up as if nothing had happened, the 2 boys would stay on the floor with incredible fear in their eyes, as if they had seen a ghost. Issei would simply leave to eat his lunch, but after a few seconds a huge scandal would break out because of what he had done. The principal would call him and expel him for what he had done, since he almost killed the first boy he threw out the window, and right now he is in a coma. The young demon, not caring, would simply leave and walk around the city until nightfall, and he would return home. Meanwhile, in the underworld, we can see some men walking in a large castle. Subject 1. Hey, did you hear the news? He would ask his partner. Subject 2. What news? Confused. Subject 1. It is said that the locators could feel the power of the chief's brother slightly. Subject 2. Really? That's incredible. We'll finally be able to meet the brother of the chief who's told us so much. I'd say, somewhat excited. These 2 would enter a room where there were many people with many papers as they were working. Subject 3. Hey, where were you? Another person who was there would ask. Subject 1. We went to do a job, where is the boss? I would ask. Subject 4. He is in his living room, I would answer. The first subjects would go to the top of the castle and enter a room where there was none other than Zeldrus, but much taller, as if he were already an adult despite being only 15 years old. He was in his seat looking out the window thoughtfully, but with a somewhat evil smile. Subject. Boss with respect. Zeldrus. What's wrong, Neaton? He would ask without turning around. Subject. I come to give you the news that the locators were able to find traces of your brother Issei-sama. Again serious comment. Zeldrus. Really? Where did it go? He would ask as he stood up. Subject. In the human world, sir, in the same city where the sister of the demon king Successor Lucifer lives, I would answer. Zeldrus. Good, tell the commandments to get ready, we will go to the human world. Giving the order. I finally found you, brother, after this we will finish off all the demons who betrayed us. Seeing outside his castle the beautiful snow that fell on his castle. Meanwhile, Issei at home was lighting the fireplace to heat the house since it was the middle of winter. He felt the need to look for his brothers, but he knew that for now he wouldn't have to do it since he had to follow his plan as he had thought about it during the years he was in prison. Issei. Zeldrus, this pink, what are they doing now? He would ask himself mentally. We return to the underworld. A soldier was heading to the Zeldrus room and entered with respect, seeing how his boss was already ready to leave in search of his brother. Soldier. Chief, the commandments are ready, whenever you want we will prepare the magic circle for you. I would speak. Zeldrus. Okay, let's go there. The 2 would go down to the main room, and there Zeldrus would see his best soldiers who were the 10 commandments, which were 5 girls and 5 boys. 10 commandments. Good morning, Zeldrus-sama, they would say in unison and with respect. Zeldrus. Hey guys, I hope you're prepared for this because we're going into enemy territory and something really big could happen, he would say with a smile. Loxinia. Don't worry, Zelda-sama, we are ready at all times, she would say with a calm smile. Zeldrus. I hope so, looking at the soldiers, and they would immediately understand. The guards would point their hands at the 11 and create a large magic circle which would teleport them, and they would finally arrive at the human world. Zeldrus. I hope they didn't do anything to you, brother, or you'll pay. Chapter Reunion. In the previous chapter, Zeldrus and his commanders, called the 10 Commandments, had gone to the human world because some soldiers in his army had faintly sensed Issei's power in that city, something that surprised Zeldrus. Meanwhile, Issei would wake up and have breakfast. While he was eating, he would hear a knock on his door. The person responsible for this was none other than Successor Lucifer. Issei. What's wrong, Lucifer? I would ask without feelings. Successor. Aren't you going to invite me in? I would ask with a somewhat nervous smile. The brown-haired man would simply look at him calmly for a few seconds until he moved away from the door and let the powerful demon in. Successor. Well, Issei, I heard that you were kicked out of the academy on your first day for almost killing 3 boys, right? He would ask, sitting on the sofa. Issei. They asked for it, taking a seat on another sofa. Successor. That doesn't matter anymore, the past is the past, and besides you stopped just before killing 2 of them, which shows me that you are not someone without mercy. With a small smile. Issei. Go to the big. Getting more serious. Successor. I want you to live with Rias and the other girls. When she said that, there would be a few seconds of silence. Issei. Don't even think about it, standing up and walking towards the kitchen. Successor. Look Issei, since you're not going to the academy anymore, we need you to live with a girl, so we can know where to find you when we need you. Walking behind the brown-haired boy calmly. Issei. If you know I live here, he would answer while preparing a sweetbread. Successor. I know that you won't be able to stay in one place and that sooner or later you'll move somewhere else. Somewhat nervous. Issei. TSH, whatever you want Lucifer, but I don't want it to be a simple house, I want it to be a huge house to have my space away from your sister, somewhat angry while eating the bread. Successor. Okay, you can start preparing your things whenever you want, here, it's the address of your new home, giving him a piece of paper and leaving in a magic circle. Issei. Soon you'll stop underestimating me, damn it, I hope to meet Zeldris and Estarrosa as soon as possible, clenching his fist. On the other hand, we see Zeldrus with his 10 soldiers at the top of a mountain, watching the great city and trying to locate his brother, but he couldn't. Zeldrus. Very well, Droll, since you are the only human in the group, you will have to increase your power to the maximum to get Issei's attention, since if I or someone else do it, they could detect us as enemies. Looking at the soldier with the seriousness that characterizes him. Droll. As you say, Zeldrus stepping back a bit so as not to cause problems for his companions and releasing a brilliant power. The other day's commandments would feel the power of Droll and smile with pride at how powerful their companion was. Very. Not bad for the third strongest in the group, I would speak proudly. Zeldrus. Well done, that's enough, I would say. After a few seconds we'll see if with that he has been able to locate us. On the other hand, with the Gremory clan, they would be in the new house with great happiness, since Successor had told them that Issei agreed to go live with them, but the happiest was Rias, right at the time of the celebration they would feel a great power, they would all be on alert, but after a few seconds the power would disappear without knowing where it came from. On the other hand, Issei would also have felt that power, but he had quickly located where it came from, since he felt that they were calling him. Issei. So they're calling me, huh? I wonder who it is leaving his house and taking flight with his dark wings. Meanwhile with Zeldrus and the others, they waited for Issei to notice, but they would be shocked to see how out of nowhere someone would appear in front of them all, and this was none other than Issei. Monspiet. Incredible, it took less than 5 seconds to fly there, I would say calmly. Issei. Who are you? He would ask, showing his darkness. The young demon would look at all the armored subjects, and in the end he would see someone who seemed very familiar to him. This was Zeldrus, and Issei would quickly react by deactivating his darkness and approaching his brother, placing his hand on the younger demon's shoulder. Well, he was very happy to meet his brother again. Issei. Hello Zeldrus with a small smile. Zeldrus. Is Issei happy? Issei. Nice to see you safe and sound again, little brother. While the commandant saw this scene with happiness and pride, knowing that all the things that Zeldrus told them were true and it was shown to the naked eye. The brothers would chat for hours, Zeldrus would introduce him to the 10 commandments and tell him everything he's been doing over the years. Flashback. The young demon Zeldrus, seeing how they were betrayed, would decide to escape with his other older brother Eststerosa to a very remote place and begin to train by themselves. After a few years these two would separate and Zeldrus would form his own army known as the Revolutionaries, in which he was the leader of this, and below him were the 10 commandments. For years they have been recruiting soldiers from all races of the world, and currently he does not know anything about his brother Eststerosa after he left. End of the fashion back. Issei. That's amazing bro, with a sincere smile. Zeldrus. Let's go to the castle brother, there I will introduce you to everyone and we will plan everything to kill the entire Gremory family. Standing up. Issei. Wait, Zeldrus calling his attention. For now, go back alone. Zeldrus. What? Why? I would ask without understanding. Issei. For now I will pretend to be an ally of the Gremory, soon I will tell you my plan to finish them all, but for now do not return to the human world or everything will be ruined. The first thing is to meet again the 3 brothers, and there I will tell you my plan. If you know something about it do not hesitate to tell me. Creating his wings. See you later brother, we will meet again. Flying at high speed again to the city. Brodina, she's a woman. Wow, that's serious, the commandant would say. Zeldrus. Okay guys, we're going back to the castle for now. Thinking about his brother's words. After a few hours Issei would have all his bags packed, and seeing the paper that Successor gave him he would know where his new house was, so using a magic circle he would teleport himself and all his things to the entrance, knocking on the door and listening, and in less than 2 seconds the door would open suddenly since Rias was waiting for him. Rias. Issei. Very happy. Issei. Move aside. Walking past with a serious face and without greeting the other members, he would walk past to the 2nd floor to take over one of the many rooms that were empty. But you, why don't you stop paying attention to that idiot? It seems he doesn't want to know anything about you. The secretary would speak calmly. Rias. I'm sorry, but this is my fault. If I hadn't told my brother about that time, none of this would be happening. Sadly. Chapter the hero. In a very far away place in the world, in a snowy forest, there was a huge army of warriors commanded by 5 women mounted on winged horses, in front of thousands of fighters, and at the head of those 5 was the supreme leader. LS, supreme leader. Asgard forever. She would shout, being followed by all her warriors at high speed. This huge army was about to face powerful monsters who seemed to have no conscience of their actions, and with a great thirst for blood, the war would begin, and the deaths would not be long in coming, hundreds of deaths in just a few seconds on both sides. The 5 warrior women were the ones who stood out the most, killing right and left without hesitating for a single second to those horrible monsters. Several hours would pass, and the death still continued without ceasing until at one point, 4 giant monsters would appear out of nowhere which looked very powerful. Warrior 1. Damn, if only they were here seeing those titans in surprise. LS. Back off Valkyries, I'll take care of them, the leader shouted. Warrior 2. But leader, we can't leave her alone against those 4 titans, you couldn't alone. Another of the Valkyrias would speak. Without saying another word, the 5 Valkyries would see how their leader made a great leap towards one of the titans and would appear in front of their face. The enormous monster would quickly try to capture her with his hands, but the leading Valkyrie would do a 360 turn and would cut off his hands with her sharp wings, then she would cut off his head with her great sword. Warrior 3. Incredible, watching that act with surprise. Warrior 4. Not many can do something like that in the entire Asgardian kingdom, shocked as they continued their own fight with the remaining monsters. The supreme leader would try to get off the ground, but before touching the ground, she would see how a titan appeared in front of her, about to give her a huge blow that would surely kill her, but out of nowhere a powerful ray would appear that would hit the titan's chest, making him retreat. She would look back and would be happy to see that they were the 2 heroes of Asgard. Yes, this pink one has that appearance and you'll know why. LS. Thor, Eststerosa. Going with the 2 so-called heroes. Thor. I see you're in trouble. Brunhild holding his mighty hammer. Eststerosa. Thank goodness Thor saved you or you could have died. I would speak calmly. Brunhilde, supreme leader. That's right, thank you Thor. Well, the 3 joined together watching the 3 remaining titans. Thor. Okay, let's go, vanishing like lightning. The young Eststerosa and Brunhilde would open their white wings and go to attack the titans, finishing them off with relative ease, thus ending the war, since the few monsters that remained would escape upon seeing that the titans had died. Eststerosa. I see that you have become very strong, Brunhilde, while the 3 of them walked together and behind them the army. Brunhilde. It's part of my training, as a Valkyrie I have to protect the kingdom in any case of danger, I would answer the white-haired man. Thor. Those titans were not weak at all, and you took care of 2 of them. I think you are one of the strongest warriors in all of Asgard without counting father, referring to Odin. Brunhilde. Thanks for the compliment, with a small happy smile and giving a hug to both of them. I missed you friends, giving a nice moment. So these 3 friends would return to Odin's castle and kneel before the king, declaring the mission complete and returning to their homes. Night would fall, and Eststerosa would be dressing elegantly, as a grand party would be held that night to celebrate Asgard's victory. The white-haired man would arrive at the castle and see many important people, but he would feel a hand on his shoulder. He would turn around and find Brunhilde in a beautiful dress. Brunhilde. How do I look? I would ask calmly. Eststerosa. You look beautiful, he would answer, a little dazed by the beauty that the most powerful and beautiful Valkyrie of all Asgard gave off. These 2 friends would head to an empty place, standing in front of a great banquet, since in that type of party, Odin did not hold anything back. Eststerosa. And Thor? I would ask curiously. Brunhilde. He went in search of his beloved, I would answer. At that moment the god Odin would give a great speech and the banquet would begin. After a few hours the time for the dance would arrive. The 2 friends would be somewhat embarrassed to see all the couples dance something romantic, but being pink would decide to ask the question. Eststerosa. Brunhilde. Hey, do you want to dance? They would say at the same time. So the 2 would go out to dance and a great peace would take over them, dancing for a few minutes until they would decide to return to their seats laughing. Brunhilde. It's true, it's very cliché that in the movies, at the end of the dance, the couple of friends always kiss. While laughing next to this pink one. The 2 would begin to chat about different things, but at one point in the night, he would feel a power very familiar to him. Eststerosa. Excuse me Brunhilde, I need to go to the bathroom, escaping without her friend noticing. He would head at high speed towards a cave in a nearby forest, where he would find none other than his younger brother sitting on a rock. Zeldrus. Hello little brother, with a calm smile. Eststerosa. Zeldrus. How did you find me? He would ask confused. Zeldrus. I told you I would form an army with all the races that exist. I have some soldiers infiltrated, and although it took me several years to find you, I finally succeeded. Looking into his eyes. Eststerosa. I see, and what brings you here? I would ask. Zeldrus. First of all, why don't I feel demonic energy in you anymore? I would ask. Eststerosa. It's a long story, I'll just tell you that I stopped being a demon to become an Asgardian, he would answer, surprising his brother a little. Zeldrus. I see why I came here is to tell you that Issei is finally free. Saying that, Estterosa would open her eyes and she wouldn't believe it. Estterosa? Are you sure? How? Why? I would ask. The little brother would tell him about his meeting with Issei and how they set him free and that they already have a plan to be able to finish off the demons. Estterosa. I see, but I won't be able to participate, brother comment. Zeldrus. What? Why? He would ask, upset. Estterosa. When we were children I came here to leave my life behind and start a new one. I no longer want revenge. I'm glad our brother is free and I would like to see him again, but I don't want to see bloodshed for simple revenge. With some sadness in his words. Zeldrus. Simple. Those damn demons betrayed us and tortured our brother for years. Standing up. Estterosa. I'm sorry, Zeldrus turning around. I hope that one day you'll understand me and leave revenge behind like I did leaving the cave and returning to the party. The young demon would simply watch as his older brother walked away and clench his fist in fury but disappear into a magic circle without saying a word. Chapter Revelation. We return to the human world, more specifically to Issei's new home, where he lived with Rias' team. It was morning and the girls were having breakfast with Kiba and Fur, the security. Rias. How strange that Issei is still sleeping. Confused comment. Akeno. We'll have to go see what's going on. With mischief in her words. Rias. You're right, I'll go. Standing up. Kaneko. I don't think it's a good idea, but you calling everyone's attention. Issei doesn't want to see her near him unless in his room. Rias. And what do you think we can do? I would ask. Kaneko. I'll go. Surprising everyone. Rias. It's wait. Kaneko blushing as she watched the albino going up the stairs. Akeno. Ara Kaneko-chan, how naughty. Smiling. Fur. TSH jealous that girls pay more attention to Issei than to him. The little loli would enter the chestnut-haired boy's room and see him completely naked, standing with his eyes closed while a large inhabitant sat inside. Kaneko. Isay. Whispering with a big blush. The brunette would slowly open his eyes and the albino would feel an incredible thirst for blood that would leave her motionless. Issei, upon seeing Kaneko, would quickly calm down and the atmosphere inside the room would return to normal. The young man, without any shame at being completely naked, would walk past the cat and leave the room to head to the bathroom. A few seconds later, she would quickly go down to where the other girls were, very nervous. Rias. Kaneko. What happened? She would ask worriedly like her other companions. Kaneko. Issei making his companions nervous. He was naked. Everyone would blush upon hearing that. Kiba would smile nervously and Fur would be even angrier. The hours would pass and no one had yet seen the face of the brunette since he had not gone down to the living room at any time until Kiba would decide to go up to see what was happening. The blonde would enter the room, but there was no one there. He would look out the window and see Issei training with a sword in the backyard. Kiba. I see. Going to Issei's place without the girls noticing. Hey Issei-kun. Issei. What's wrong? He would ask without stopping his training. Kiba. I know that training alone doesn't have many effects, so what do you think if we train together with the sword? He would ask kindly and the brown-haired boy would feel that. Issei. Okay, then let's get started right away. With a small smile and they would start fighting with their swords. Note. Issei has the sacred treasure Lost Vein, but he didn't know how to use its power, therefore he didn't know that he could create clones of himself. The hours would pass and these two swordsmen would not stop at any moment. In a moment Asia would be walking there and would see these two training, which would surprise her and she would quickly go to warn the others who would also be surprised since Issei was finally making contact with one of them. Night would fall and these two would finally stop and Issei would notice the presence of the girls. Kiba. Oh but you, girls, I hadn't noticed you. Smiling. Kaneko. Kiba, you fool, we've been here for hours. With her typical expression. Kiba. Sorry, I was concentrating. A little nervous. Everyone would notice that Issei would simply leave and without saying a word, they would all go home and start preparing dinner while the others did their things individually without knowing what Issei was planning. The brown-haired boy was walking through the streets of the city and at one point he would see a portal open before his eyes and from it appeared Vali and Kuroka. Kuroka. Oh, so this is that dangerous demon everyone is talking about. He doesn't look that dangerous. With a perverted smile. Vali. You're Issei, aren't you? Smiling confidently. Issei. I suppose you're the famous terrorist group. To what do I owe your appearance? With seriousness in his words. Vali. She wanted to meet you. Watching as the cat approached Issei. Kuroka. Oh, don't say that, Vali, you also wanted to meet him. With great seduction she would begin to touch the brown-haired boy who would not be fazed by the charms of that cat. I see that my charms do not affect you. What do you think of this? Licking his face. By doing that action Issei would quickly increase his power and take Kuroka by the neck, lifting her with a very furious face. Volley would quickly react and put on his armor, while the cat tried to get out of the young man's grip. Issei. Don't ever do that again, looking at her with a big face. Volley. That's enough, let her go, he would shout angrily. The brown-haired boy would simply drop her, Kuroka would be very scared and would retreat with Volley, who was prepared in case Issei wanted to fight. Issei. I have nothing against you guys, so don't bother me continuing on your way. Volley. Hadn't they released you so you could finish us off? I would ask. Issei. I don't care, you can do whatever you want, but don't mess with me, turning his back on them. Kuroka. It's a monster, still trembling with fear. Volley. TSH, if he had attacked we wouldn't have been able to do anything, he's very strong, retreating through a portal. The hours would pass and Issei would return home as if nothing had happened. Everyone would be sleeping except one person. This was Rias, who was on the sofa waiting for the brown-haired boy since she was worried, and when she saw him come through the door she would be happy. Rias. Issei. Happy but being ignored as he would start to climb the stairs. Why do you always ignore me? She would scream while crying and stopping the brown-haired boy. Issei. Have you forgotten what you did to me, Rias? He would ask seriously, looking into her eyes. Rias. I haven't forgotten, but at least let me talk to you. Very sad. The brown-haired boy would feel that pain and go down the stairs. The two would go to the main room and sit on two separate sofas. Issei. What do you want to talk about? He would ask with a serious face. Rias. I want to tell you what really happened that night. Nervous about what she was about to say. Flashback. We see the Great Demon Academy in the underworld. Issei would be walking normally with his two little brothers through the halls. At one point 3 bullies from the last year would appear, who were much bigger than the 3 brothers who would receive the beating, but it would all end there. Everyone would leave the academy, and many would notice that Issei was very bruised. Zeldris and Estarrosa, as they came out more injured, had to go home before classes ended. A couple of friends would worry about them. They were Rias and her friend Alyssa. Alyssa. Issei. Going to hug the young man, are you okay? I would ask. Eststerosa. Don't worry, I'm fine, with a small smile. Alyssa. Don't act brave, she would say angrily, you don't have to act strong in front of me, you know that I will help you with anything, taking him by the hand and leading him with her. Issei. Where are you taking me? He would ask nervously. Alyssa. It's obvious, to the academy's infirmary to treat your wounds. Passing by her friend, you laugh. I'm sorry, friend, but this time I can't accompany you. Rias. Don't worry Alyssa, I wish you well, with a proud smile. The two friends would walk past each other, but Issei and Rias would exchange glances. Issei would blush, and the little retard would simply walk home. The brunette would be healed, and Alyssa would wait for him. Issei. You don't have to wait for me, Alyssa comment. Alyssa. But I want to be here with you, after all we are friends, with a beautiful smile. The hours would pass, and it would be getting dark. Issei would finally be able to leave the infirmary and walk alongside Alyssa as they chatted and laughed together. In a moment, they would be passing through a park, but they would run into the same bullies who had beaten Issei up. Rabukin won. Oh, so you're here for the second round? I would ask confidently. Alyssa. Who do you think you are, stupid big guy? I would respond angrily. Bully 2. Oh, so you're with your little friend, she has a very loose mouth for just a young girl, laughing. Issei. We're not in school anymore, so now we can really fight, giving an incredible blow to the boy. These 3 would start to fight, but the duo of friends would be losing, since the 3 bullies had more experience in using their powers, and would be very angry, since some simple children were making them bleed. Bully 3. Damn brat, spitting blood, now you'll see, taking her by the arm, creating a dark attack and piercing her stomach. Bully 1. What did you do, stupid? Let's get out of here. Escaping the place. This. Alyssa approaching her dying friend. Sorry, I'm sorry, while crying with great sadness. Alyssa. Issei gently caressing his face. My great childhood friend, I've wanted to tell you something for a long time, while blood came out of her mouth. Issei. What do you want to tell me? Very nervous. Help. I would scream, but there was no one around. Alyssa. But I couldn't finish speaking because I would close my eyes and stop breathing. The brown-haired boy simply couldn't believe it. His great friend, who always took care of him, protected him, and perhaps had died. He would look at her for a few seconds and then look at the dark sky as the rain would begin to fall. Issei. Alyssa, I swear that I will create the world that we always dreamed of and were striving to create, but not without first eliminating all the evil from this disgusting world. A dark aura would begin to come out of Issei. The 3 boys would go into a small shallow forest so as not to be seen while they ran through the people, and thus they would be accused. Bully 1. Why the hell did you do that? He would ask angrily. Bully 3. It wasn't my intention, I just got out of control and rage took over me. I would respond agitated. Issei. So fury took over you? appearing out of nowhere in front of the boys who would be scared to create the perfect world. We must destroy what hinders it, death, war, envy, evil approaching the three slowly while looking at the ground. Rabukin too. Who are you damn scared to see that scary appearance? Issei. I'm the same boy who just had one of the most important people in his life taken away from him. You disgust me looking at them with a great thirst for revenge. Bully 1. Run. He would shout, very scared. The hours would pass and only screams of pain were heard, a lot of blood on the trees and body parts everywhere. Yes, Issei was for hours and hours, massacring and torturing those three boys without letting them die. He was going through the worst suffering that no other being could imagine. Every time one of them fainted from the pain, the brown-haired man would wake them up again and continued without any mercy. The sun would appear and the underworld police would invade the place since they had been reported of screams from that place and they would see the brown-haired man massacring those boys. Quickly the police would arrest Issei, who could not resist any and would simply faint since he had no strength left. A few days would pass and the news of Alyssa's death would spread. Successors and the other leaders would find out and decide to erase the girl's memory from the brown-haired boy since they knew that if he remembered his friend again, he would lose control again. After a long time the chestnut would finally wake up and return to his family without knowing the truth. His friends and family had been informed not to tell Issei anything about Alyssa or it would get out of control. Everything would be happy, but Successors would be called by the counselors who had learned of the news of the Issei massacre and would decide to lock him and his two brothers up in case they became as dangerous as the chestnut. Successors would be forced to obey and so they would plan everything with little Rias. The day would come and Issei would be locked up and his two brothers Eststerosa and Zeldrus would escape. The little Rias was really depressed after the death of her great friend Alyssa. She didn't want to talk to anyone for a long time, she didn't eat and she spent all her time locked in her room and when she knew that she would also betray her three friends, Issei, Zeldris and Estarrosa, she would be sad again, but she would have to act as if she were happy since her brother the Demon King had asked her for that favor and after that she lived with depression for many years until little by little she began to recover that happiness when she found her team, Akeno, Kaneko etc. End of flashback. Rias. I ask your forgiveness for everything, Issei while crying very sadly. Iridid would look at the brown-haired boy and realize what was happening. The brown-haired boy would grab his head in pain as he suffered. Then he would fall to the ground and grab his chest. Since his heart was beating very fast, he was really suffering and would start to scream while all those memories came to mind. Everyone would wake up from the screams and would go down to where Issei was suffering and would try to calm him down with great effort, but it would be in vain. After several seconds the brown-haired boy would stay still on his knees while looking at the ground and everyone would see how drops of tears would fall to the ground from the brown-haired boy's face. Issei. Alyssa, he would say, totally broken inside, and then he would faint, worrying everyone. The days would pass and everyone would be worried since he didn't wake up. Even the faction leaders would show up, but they couldn't do anything. Successors felt really guilty and would apologize to Issei many times for what he had done to him. One day, like any other, Rias and the girls would go to the room to see if he had woken up, but when they opened the door, they would notice that Issei was no longer there. Chapter Confusion. We see the immense castle of the demon Zeldrus in the underworld. Many soldiers of the army that he had created were doing their individual activities and jobs. Some were training, others were chatting, and others were resting. But at the top of the castle, in the boss room, we see the young demon on his throne with a very serious face. Zeldrus. Damn this pink, unknowingly expelling some of his dark power. At that moment a soldier would enter with a large scroll in his hands, looking very agitated and nervous. Soldier. Zeldrus. Calling the demon's attention. Zeldrus. What's wrong, Estalon? He would ask without changing his face. Estalon. The soldiers infiltrated in heaven have finally obtained a map that shows what the territory of the angels looks like. Approaching a piece of furniture and opening the red one that showed the map. Zeldrus. This is a huge step forward. How did they do it so fast? I would ask more calmly about this great news. Estalon. Sir, many soldiers died during these months, thanks to the deceased who were discovered as spies. Is that we have this great advance that shows that the soldiers are willing to do anything for you with a sad smile. Zeldrus. When all this is over and we are victorious, we will properly bury all the soldiers who sacrificed themselves. Approaching a window and watching the snowfall. At that moment he would feel a great pain in his head that would make him fall to the ground with a face of suffering. On the other hand, in Asgard we see Estterosa taking a walk with Brunilda, the most powerful Valkyrie. The two were having a talk, and it seemed that they were both having a great time until Estterosa would also begin to feel a great pain in his head. He would fall to the ground, and Brunilda would get worried, taking him to the hospital. We return to the human world. In the middle of the night we see Issei at the top of a large skyscraper, looking at the immense city with a face without feelings. Issei. What a beautiful city. I would have liked to be a simple human and not carry all this. After unlocking his memories, which had been sealed by Surzic's about Alyssa, he decided to break his promise to them. He no longer cared if everyone was after him if it meant killing those who manipulated him. At that moment, he felt someone appear behind him, and without even turning around, he knew who it was. Issei. Zeldrus, you really came without me calling you without any feeling in his voice. Zeldrus. I don't care what you say anymore, drawing his sword and trying to cut his own brother. The brown-haired boy would quickly dodge that attack and move away, looking at him with a face of seriousness and fury at the same time. Issei. What do you think you're doing, stupid? He would shout angrily. Zeldrus. Do you think I know you killed Alyssa? Finally, the memories have come back to me, and I realized that you wanted to kill me after finishing off Alyssa. With great seriousness. Issei. Stop saying that, I didn't kill Alyssa, and I would never hurt you guys. I would answer. Zeldrus. I will not let myself be manipulated again, you will die now, launching himself with the sword to attack him, but Issei would dodge all the attacks with great difficulty, but would have small cuts that his younger brother would manage to make. At one point in the fight, none other than Eststerosa would appear in a magic circle with a superior face looking at her two brothers. Zeldrus. Evil. Did you also discover the truth? Let's both finish off this damn traitor. Pointing his sword at Issei. The white-haired man would approach Zeldrus and create an Asgardian sword in his hand, and being a few centimeters away from his younger brother, he would attack him with great power, since Zeldrus did not expect it, throwing him off the skyscraper. Issei. What did you do? He would shout angrily and very confused about what was happening to his brothers. Estterosa. You will be the next bastard, I will not forgive you for what you did to our parents, you bucking demon. He would speak calmly, approaching his brother to attack him. The brown-haired boy would go on defense, but the two would see how Zeldrus would reappear, since he created wings of darkness, while he healed the large wound that Estterosa had caused him. Zeldrus. Damn, seeing the three brothers finally after years. Issei. What's wrong with them? He would ask worriedly without letting his guard down. Estterosa. I already told you, brother, I will not forgive them for what they did to dad and mom. Zeldrus. What did you say? Surprised by what Estterosa said. At that moment they would be interrupted, since between these two a magic circle would appear in which all the leaders of the three factions would appear, and around them many magic circles in which soldiers of the factions would appear. Surzic's would quickly create a magic circle around all of them, so that they would be invisible to the human eye. Azazel. This ends here and now, increasing all his power like the other leaders. Zeldrus. Curse, creating a magic circle and disappearing. Estterosa. The hunt begins, brothers. You will die by my own hands. Also disappearing in a magic circle. The older brother, Issei, would be about to escape in a magic circle, but Michael would not allow it, since he would create a magic circle around him, which would not allow him to use any demonic magic. Michael. Wait, Issei. He would shout worriedly. Issei. Do you think this will stop me? Increasing his dark power and breaking the barrier with ease, don't underestimate me. While the demonic mark was marked on his forehead. Ajuka. You know you can't handle everyone at the same time, we just want to talk to you, Issei, give us a few minutes, and we'll explain everything to you, calming him down a bit but without lowering his power since the mark was still on his forehead. Issei. What else do you want besides dying? With great seriousness. Surzic's. Don't you want to know the reason why your brothers behave in such an aggressive way with you? Approaching the brown-haired boy. Issei. You made me forget someone very precious to me, and that was Alyssa. He went to attack the Demon King at great speed with great fury. Just a few centimeters from Surzic's, the leaders would save him by creating a magic circle around him that was almost broken by Issei's great strength. Issei. You guys don't interfere. Wanting to go attack the other leaders, but the hundreds of soldiers would act and start attacking Issei with all their powers, who would be seriously affected since the fury he felt inside him didn't let him think or fight properly. After a few seconds Issei would look very hurt, but what would surprise everyone the most is that he was still standing and looking at Surzic's. Issei. You guys ruined my life, falling forward unconscious. Chapter The Truth and the Beginning of the End. The brown-haired boy would begin to open his eyes and notice that he was tied against a wall, held by magic from heaven, and therefore could not use his demonic powers, but he would also notice the presence of the three faction leaders, Surzic's, Azazel and Michael, in front of him. Issei. So I went back to prison, looking down with a basic face. Michael. You won't be here for long, Issei with peace in his voice. Surzic's. Issei, do you want to know the reason why your brothers act that way? I would ask seriously. Issei. You erased Alyssa from my memory, I will never forgive you for this, with a great emptiness in his voice. Surzic's. That's right, Issei, I deleted Alyssa, but I did it for your own good, I would answer. Issei. For my own good? All you did was make me forget one of the most important people in my life. Remembering his friend when they were little. Surzic's. Issei, I'll tell you what really happened after you were captured. Looking at the brown-haired boy. Flashback. By order of the council, Successor had captured Issei after what happened with the 3 boys who murdered Alyssa, but Eststerosa and Zeldrus had been captured. The days would pass and the 2 brothers still were not found, or so everyone thought. Days before Issei's imprisonment, the council, having already made the decision, would decide to send the parents of the 3 brothers on an important mission so that they would not interrupt. Finally, the 2 brothers would be found and brought before the council. They would decide to do something worse than simply locking them up. They would manipulate their minds so that if one day Issei were to get out of prison and remember Alyssa, the memories of Eststerosa and Zeldrus would be modified so that they would attack each other, and after having achieved their mission, they would release the boys, but not before erasing their memories since they were captured, so that they think they were never found and that they are still being searched for. Years would pass, and Successor would somehow find out what his superiors did, so without any mercy, he would end up killing them and replacing the old advisors with new ones. He put an even bigger reward on Zeldris and Estarrosa in order to erase those false memories that could one day be unlocked. End of flashback. Successor. And that is the reason why your brothers attack you. He is disappointed in himself for not having interrupted before all that happened. Issei. And what did they change in my brother's memories? He would ask without changing his mood. Successor. Regarding Zeldrus, he now thinks that you had joined us and that you wanted to kill them, but since you didn't succeed we locked you up for failing, and Estterosa thinks that you and Zeldrus went crazy and that you killed your parents, Alyssa, and then he went noticing that the brown-haired man didn't change his expression at all. Issei. I see, I would simply say. Azazel. Hey Issei, how about you join us again now and we try to make your brothers know the truth. Taking the floor. Issei. You're right Azazel, for my brothers I would do anything. Looking him straight in the eyes. The Demon King Successor Lucifer would look at Michael and nod his head so that he would release the brunette, and thus the Archangel would unleash his magic and Issei would fall to her feet looking at the ground. Michael. Well, first we have to plan how being interrupted by the brown-haired man. Issei. You guys disgust me. Looking with a dark face at the 3 leaders. The dark aura would begin to emerge from the chestnut's body, along with a powerful blizzard that would make the 3 leaders retreat, who would have to take cover since it was a lot of power. Successor. What are you doing, Issei? He would ask confused. Issei. Do you really think I'll let you control me again? Well, a layer of dark matter covered him. I've had enough of your manipulations. Right now you will die, and if any other being gets in my way, even if they are my brothers, I will also kill them without any mercy. With a great darkness in his voice. Michael. What do we do? He would ask very nervously as he felt the chestnut's power increasing non-stop. Azazel. I don't know, if he continues like this he will overtake the 3 of us and end up killing us with great seriousness. Successor. Damn, we will have to attack him with everything. It doesn't matter if we kill him, we have to do it or we will regret it, increasing his power just like Azazel and Michael. Issei. So you're going to fight, huh? I thought you were going to let each other get killed like disgusting cockroaches. With a smile while his body was changing. The 3 leaders would launch themselves with everything before the young demon to finish him off and creating a great explosion, raising a lot of dust. After a few seconds they would be shocked to see how their attacks had done nothing to the brown-haired boy who now looked very different. Issei. It's time to die. Little leaders calmly watching his enemies. Successor. What is that immense power? He would ask, shocked. Azazel. Incredible, there is no doubt that it is like the power that his grandfather had, nervous and somewhat scared. Michael. It can't be really, the powers of his grandfather Meliodas were inherited by him. Well, his hand trembled with fear. As he finished speaking, the new Issei would appear out of nowhere in the middle of these 3, right in front of Azazel, who could not move due to the fear he felt. The brown-haired man would give him an incredible blow to the stomach that would send him flying against a wall, breaking it with ease. Without wasting time, he would look at Michael and slam his head against the ground with incredible force. Zitches. He finished them both off with ease. He would say he was mentally terrified. Issei. It's your turn, King, but before I kill you I have to ask you a question. With a small confident smile. Successor. What do you want? He would ask, stepping back. The brunette would appear in front of the redeed and give him a small punch in the stomach so that he would kneel down in pain. Issei. You have to look at me from below. Smiling. What happened to my parents? Successor. They disappeared after the mission they were sent on, spitting blood. Issei. So it is not known if they are dead or not. Another lie that you have told me, damn it, but as a reward for this time that you have told me the truth, I will let you live a little longer. Enjoy it. Well, you can, leaving the place with a huge explosion, destroying everything. The Demon King would wake up an hour later and help Azazel and Michael recover. The 2 would come to the surface and see chaos throughout the city, everything destroyed, with a dark fire and many deaths everywhere. Successor. This is scared. Azazel. He has changed completely. That dark power has consumed him completely, clenching his fist helplessly. Michael. He's just as evil as his grandfather was before he met Elizabeth. Comment remembering those dark times. Serzich's. Let's go back to the castle worried about his family. The three would go to Serzich's castle and see on the news that Issei had appeared in the most dangerous prison in the demonic world, destroying it and recruiting many prisoners. Azazel. It's really complicated for us, very frustrated. Michael. I'll go back to heaven and prepare my soldiers in case something happens. Disappearing. Iridid and the fallen man would also begin to prepare their soldiers since the prisoners in that prison were very powerful and dangerous. Everyone in the underworld would have heard this great news. Many would be scared and others would want revenge against the brunette since he had killed so many people. In a very remote place in the underworld, we see Zeldrus with a newspaper in his hands reading the news about his brother. Zeldrus. That bastard is here, prepare everything, we will leave in a few days. He would tell his soldiers who would understand. Chapter A. Little brother fight. All the soldiers of Zeldrus's revolutionary army would prepare for war against a new group their brother Issei had formed in hell. Zeldrus's younger brother would emerge from the castle, accompanied by a huge army ready to die if necessary. Zeldrus's leader was at the front, the 10 commandments behind him, and the warriors in the rear. Frodon. Do you know where your brother is? I would ask your leader. Zeldrus. That's right, it's right in front of you about 200 kilometers away. I would answer without turning around. The entire army would take flight and quickly head to the place where Issei was causing chaos, since he had completely lost control after his mind broke from everything that had happened to him. We see the brown-haired man on top of a building eating an apple, and behind him, his 5 warriors who were talking to each other. Demon, name. Dark. Human, name. Elizabeth. Angel, name. Male. Vampire, name. Alucard. Elf, name. Rin. Bryn. How is it that you are brothers if you are of different races? Referring to Dark and Male. Male. It's a long story, I would answer calmly. Bryn. And why do they wear armor? Curious. Dark. It's also a long story with a dark tone. These three continued talking while Alucard simply watched, and Elizabeth would approach Issei, who was on the edge of the building, watching the city they had destroyed. Elizabeth. What's wrong, Issei? She would ask with a cheerful tone. Issei. My little brother is approaching and with him a large army with a challenging smile. Elizabeth. So your brother, huh? Would you let me fight him? I'd like to test my powers after being locked away for years. Looking into the distance. Issei. No, this is a family matter, but don't worry because you will be able to fight with very powerful enemies. They are a group called the 10 Commandments, seeing a small surprised reaction from his partner. Elizabeth. The 10 Commandments, I've heard about them in prison thanks to the guards. They say they are so powerful that they are the strongest warriors of the factions. It would be good to fight against them, staying with Issei waiting for the revolutionary army. Finally, after waiting, Zeldrus would see the great demonic city destroyed and in the distance his brother on top of a building looking at him with a smile, but he looked different, a dark mass surrounded his body and a tremendous power emerged from him. The huge army would approach cautiously in case it was a trap, and when they were a few meters away the two brothers would have a chat. Issei. What's wrong, Zeldrus, are you still against your older brother? With sarcasm in his words. Zeldrus. You are no longer my brother, I will not forgive your betrayal, and having deceived me all these years, thinking that you were an ally, I would answer seriously. Issei. Very well, then I will give you a lesson like your older brother, after this you will ask me for forgiveness, making Zeldrus angry. Zeldrus. Attack. He would shout with fury. The entire army would begin to attack from afar with magical attacks directed at the chestnut tree, but in front of them, Elizabeth would appear flying, raise her hands, and a huge wall of earth would cover them. A great dust would be created by the explosions, and after a few seconds, the enormous wall would split in half as Darieri of the 10 Commandments would deliver an incredible blow and head towards the chestnut tree. Darieri. Damn you. I won't show mercy after you betray the leader. She shouted angrily. The powerful demon when trying to strike would be blocked by Rin, who would create a spear with her elf magic and then do a 360 turn to hit her in the head and send her flying towards another building. Monspeed worried would go to help her companion and Rin would go for them both. Thus would begin the war of all against all, but the only ones who had not yet moved were Issei and Zeldrus, who were still staring at each other. Issei. Shall we start? He would ask confidently. Zeldrus. Of course, flying at high speed to cut it with his sword. The brown-haired man would simply cover himself with his right arm and the sword would be destroyed into pieces, leaving the black-haired man shocked, who could not believe that his great sword that accompanied him for so long had been destroyed just by making contact with his brother. Issei. What a weak attack. Smiling. The young black-haired man would step back as he realized that his brother was very powerful, but from one second to the next, Issei would appear in front of him, grab him by the chin, and look at him closely. Issei. Seriously, is that the power you've gained in all these years? The black-haired man couldn't move since he was immobile from fear. I only got out of prison a few weeks ago, and yet I'm stronger than you. You're a disappointment, little brother, with a sadistic smile. Zeldrus would try to hit him in the face, but Issei, with his hand on his chin, would send him flying into a house at an incredible speed, destroying everything in his path. The brown-haired man would reappear in front of Zeldrus, who would struggle to get up and would begin to give him a great beating. Meanwhile, the army and the 10 commandments were being defeated little by the prisoners, and after a few minutes the small war would end, since the revolutionary army could not hold on any longer and Zeldrus, their leader, was almost dead. Issei, you better get out of here, take your pathetic leader with you, and if you want to fight again, look for us, we will accept anything. Seeing that the revolutionaries were escaping. Minutes before, in the castle of Successor Lucifer, a soldier would quickly enter the room where the meeting between the demonic leaders was taking place. Soldier. Successor Lucifer, Issei and his team have once again devastated another city, and this time we have news that a huge army is heading towards Issei's direction. Very nervous. Successor. What did you say? The demon kings would go to a room in which there was a huge map that marked the location of all the people in their territory, and there they would see Issei's group, but they would also see Zeldrus along with his huge army heading towards his brother. Ajuka. We can't do anything, if we interrupt we'll surely lose. Seriously. Seraphol. That's true, it would be better to let them fight each other first, and when they are weakened, we appear it would be the same. Successor. TSH, it's okay. Watching as the little war began. Everything would end just minutes later with a great beating by Issei's group and the revolutionaries, who would leave with their pride on the ground, but even so, the demon kings would decide not to appear, since Issei and the prisoners had received practically no damage, and in Zeldrus's army, there were still some who could cause many casualties, so they would decide not to take action and let everything go as it should. The hours would pass and the revolutionary army would approach their territory, but upon entering the castle, they would see a group of 4 people, who more than being ordinary people were gods. These were the very Greek gods, and at their head was the father of the gods, Zeus, the god of lightning. Gloxinia. What are you doing here? She would ask, just as surprised and nervous as everyone else. Zeus. We're here to take your leader. Seeing Zeldrus. Roll. They won't take him, he's our leader. Preparing to fight. Ares, god of war. Do you really want to face gods in your current state? For my sake, come at me so I can finish you all off at the same time. Taking a step forward. Poseidon. Wait, Ares, finishing them off isn't why we came, we just want to take that brat trying to calm his partner. Ares. Don't be stupid. How do you think we'll beat the boss? Going to attack the gods. The one blocking her would be none other than the god of death, Hades. He would grab her by the neck, place his fingers in her stomach and begin to tear out her soul, as if it were just a game. All the commandments were terrified and wouldn't know what to do. Monspiet. Wait. He would scream and the god would look at him. Okay, take the captain, very angry. Melascula. What are you saying? She would ask angrily. Monspiet. They won't do anything bad to him. If they wanted to hurt him, they would have simply killed us all, but they haven't done that. He would explain to them, it's better for them not to do anything to the captain and bring him as quickly as possible, looking at the father of the gods. Zeus. What an understanding child, bring that child into my arms, and Hades would release Darieri. After that the gods would simply leave for Olympus with Zeldrus unconscious. Chapter Titan of Fire. We return to the middle brother. Eststerosa would be on her way to the great castle of the god Odin, and at her side was her companion Brynhilda, who was the leader of the Valkyries. Brynhilda. What would you ask Odin-sama? I would ask worriedly. Eststerosa. I'll just ask him to let me travel to the last world. With a smile. Listen, Brynhilda, holding her by the shoulders. I'll go alone, don't worry, I'll be fine. Giving her a farewell hug and entering the castle. The guards would guide him to Odin, since they knew that Eststerosa was the hero of Asgard and on the same level as Thor. He would arrive at a large hall and see the powerful god on his throne with an imposing aura. Odin. Oh, Pink, what is the reason for your presence? With respect to his soldier. Eststerosa. Odin-sama, I came to ask your permission to go to Muspelheim. On my knees. Odin. I see, changing his attitude more serious, and what is the reason for wanting to enter that dangerous world? He would ask curiously. Eststerosa. I would like to speak with Surt. Saying that, Odin would open his eyes a little and release a powerful burst of power, but he would quickly calm down. Odin. I understand. While stroking his beard, knowing that it is you and no one else, I will give you permission to go, but on the condition of seeing everything it would end. Eststerosa. As you say, Odin-sama, looking into his eyes with a small cheerful smile. These two would go to the Rainbow Bridge, and there, Rosa would teleport to the last of the 9 worlds that exist, which was Muspelheim. Only a few seconds later, the white-haired man would finally appear in that world and open his eyes in surprise upon seeing that chaotic place where fire and destruction could be seen everywhere. A few hours would pass, and he would finally find the temple where the fire giant Surt lived. Estterosa. According to the old books, this is where that giant is walking and seeing the whole place. Meanwhile, Auden watched everything from the Asgardian world with seriousness on his face, and at his side Brunilda, who was very worried but at the same time confident in her beloved. At one point, this Rosa would feel a small tremor which would start to get stronger, and suddenly she would look up and finally see that enormous fire titan who seemed very threatening. "Cert. What is an Asgardian doing in my world?" he would ask with an imposing tone of voice. "Eststerosa. Are you cert?" I would ask seriously. "Cert. Answer my question or die," increasing the flames of his body. "Eststerosa. I come from far away to talk to you, cert. I would like to ask you a favor," I would answer. "Cert. What did you say? No one comes to my world just to talk. You have to defeat me if you want something like that." Very angry. On the other hand, Auden, upon hearing this from the giant, would move away from the portal and summon his powerful spear. "Brunilda. What is Auden-sama doing?" she would ask, surprised and confused. "Auden. Saving your boyfriend's life, taking a stance and throwing the spear with such enormous speed that it was practically invisible to Brunilda. The enormous titan would raise one of his hands and create a huge sphere of fire while looking threateningly at the white-haired man, who would take a step back very nervously since that titan was very powerful. "Cert. If you don't survive this, you'll be scum even in the world of the dead," throwing the fireball at him. At that moment, the two would hear a sound in the distance, and upon seeing, Estterosa would realize that it was the spear of Auden himself which would pierce the fireball, breaking it up and piercing the giant's chest, who would fly many meters and crash into the mountain behind him. "Cert. Damn Auden," he would shout angrily. "Estterosa. Incredible." Auden threw his spear through the 9 worlds until he got here. "How much strength can a god have?" he would say to himself while his hand trembled. "Auden. Don't complain, cert. You owe me a favor and it's time to collect it. I want you to listen to that boy." Auden's voice would be heard everywhere. "Cert. Auden, so you sent him?" Well, his enormous wound was regenerating little by little thanks to the flames. "Auden. That's right, listen to what this boy has to say if you don't want me to collect my favor in any other way," with a more serious tone. "Cert. Who is this boy you love so much?" he would ask angrily. "Auden. Who knows, it could be many things," sarcastically. "Srut. TSH, that old shit has always been so mysterious." Seeing the white-haired man, "What do you want, Asgardian? Seriously?" "Estterosa. Well, let's talk." A few hours would pass in which these two had a great talk, that's all. "Srut. I see, in short, you want me to lend you my fire and train you." "Estterosa. That's right, I have a very important mission, and if I don't achieve it, many things will change in the 9 worlds." "Srut. I don't care what changes in the worlds, but I think what you propose is something interesting to see, but I warn you, at the end of your training, I will send you to face the dragon Nidhegg, and if you don't manage to burn it, I will kill you myself. What do you think, Auden?" he would ask with a small evil smile on his face. "Auden. I think it's a good idea. That will prove if this boy is really who I hope he is," I would answer. "Srut. And what do you think, kid?" looking at the white-haired man. "Estterosa. It's fine by me, if your training is really effective there shouldn't be any problems," challenging the giant. "Srut. You'll see how effective my training is," smiling. Chapter The Equal of God. We return again with the most powerful demon. Issei would be in a small town in hell, and in his hands, he had a demon by the neck whom he would be about to kill. Demon. Wait, I have a daughter, please don't kill me." Begging for her life. Issei. "Oh, so a daughter, huh? Thanks for letting us know, we'll also go kill her," with an evil smile. He would release the demon from his neck, and before his feet touched the ground, the brown-haired man would give him a powerful blow to the face that would send his head flying, and they would continue the massacre until they were finished. Arc, demon. Hey, Issei, seeing the brown-haired boy who was eating an apple sitting on some rubble. Issei. "What do you need?" I would ask, looking at him. Arc. "When will we go to the human world? I'm tired of killing demons, I also need to finish off humans." I would tell him calmly. Issei. "If I'm tired too, we'd better take a vote." Calling the other 4. "Very well, say which world you want to go to so we can continue the fun." Elizabeth. "Human. I choose the human world," I would respond. Male. Angel. I would say heaven. Alucard. Vampire. I would prefer to go to the vampire world, I would add. Rin. Elf. I don't care, but at some point I want to go to my world, with a perverted smile. Arc. As I told you, I want to go to the human world. Issei. I would also like to go to the human world, so there are 3 of us who agree, so it's done. First we will go to the human territory. Standing up. The chestnut tree would raise its arms slightly, and a 5-meter magic circle would appear beneath its feet, teleporting them to Earth. They would eventually appear at the top of a skyscraper, and as they approached the shore, they would see humanity again after many years. Male. It's been a long time, and to think that I used to protect them, with a serious tone of voice. Issei. Well, have fun seeing that his 5 companions took flight and without any apparent reason began to destroy the entire city of Kuo. Meanwhile, Rias and Sona's group would feel that enormous power and would be terrified since they would see from school how the city was being rapidly destroyed by supernatural beings. Rias, what do we do, Sona? She would ask while a drop of sweat fell down her face. Sona, we have no other options, prepare your group and we will go protect our city seriously but at the same time very nervous. On the other hand, far, far away, more specifically in some remote place in the sky, Michael would be entering a cabin under a dark sky. He would slowly enter and see that everything would be dark. Michael? Hello? Is anyone here? I would ask to get an answer. So long time Michael, it's been a long time since you last appeared around here, someone wearing a robe and looking at the fireplace would say. Michael? You know that since father's death I've had to take care of heaven and I've been very busy and a lot of things have happened these last few months. Approaching the subject. A new enemy? Do you want me to take care of him? I would ask calmly. Michael? You don't have to if you don't want to, you're very busy too, a little nervous. No, you know that if something threatens heaven I am here to protect it, but if something threatens you little brother, I will end anyone's life without turning around. Michael? Brother with a small smile. We returned to the human world. The city was practically destroyed and a large amount of human blood could be seen in the streets, along with thousands of lifeless bodies. The 5 prisoners were gathered and in front of them was Rias and Sona's team. Rin. Did you really think that shitty demons like you could stop us? With a sadistic face, did you really think you could defeat us? A group made up of pathetic demons who have never had a real battle, laughing. Rias. Of course not, we're just buying time for my brother and his army to come and defeat them, she would answer standing up while holding her right arm which was bleeding a lot. Alucard. Your brother Serziches. Don't be stupid, demon. We've already taken care of your little brother many times in hell while they tried to stop us. He would respond with a very imposing and serious air. Sona. What did you say? She would respond shocked like the others. The Secretary. Damn, I really won't be able to do anything after my hard training. Am I really going to let myself be defeated and killed by these assassins? He would ask himself, frustrated. Reg. Listen if you want we could enter again in that transformation with which you defeated Sererg, but in exchange your body will completely transform into a dragon and you will stop being a demon, I would tell him. Do it, I don't care about the cost, I just want to protect my friends no matter the side effects. Very angry. Rias. You bastards, who are you and why are you doing this? I would ask helplessly, not being able to do anything. Male. Let's say we are a small group that will purify the supernatural worlds at our convenience, just for a personal revenge, I would answer. Akeno. Damned murderers, who is their leader, she would ask, equally very hurt. Elizabeth. Leader. We don't have a leader, we are all equal, not like you disgusting beings who divide yourselves by category and think that some are better than others. We are different, but even so, the closest thing to a leader is that you know them very well and you will soon realize who it is. With a very soft voice. At that moment everyone would begin to gain great power from the black-haired man who possessed the legendary celestial dragon Drake. Rin. What do you think you're doing? She would ask, confused. Damn you, you'll pay for it, I won't forgive you for hurting my friend, shouting while increasing his power incredibly. Rias. First seeing her boyfriend in surprise. Sona. Move away, girls, backing up a few meters like the others. Everyone would see how the black-haired man reached the same transformation with which he defeated Sererg, but this time he was much more powerful, almost doubling the power of that time, since his body would be completely that of a dragon this time, and the girls would realize that. Elizabeth. She's strong, calmly. Now you'll see, damn it, I myself will finish you off with great fury. The 5 prisoners would simply look at him seriously, and the first one to step forward would be Dark, who was willing to fight the Secretary. Dark. Come and defeat me, let me taste the power of the celestial dragon, with a provocative voice. This is your end, idiot. Launching himself at an impressive speed towards his opponent. The powerful dragon would be just a few centimeters away from the pure demon and would throw a powerful blow to his face with all his power, but to everyone's surprise and fear, the pure demon would not move, allowing himself to be hit, but the blow would not move him even an inch. But what? With enormous fear on his face. Reg. Incredible, he didn't even scratch him, the dragon commented very nervously. Dark. You are very strong, boy, but the difference between you and me is that I do not depend on someone else's power, I have my own power, my own techniques, and you only imitate those already created by the dragon that you have inside you, which limits your abilities. Grabbing the brown-haired boy's arm. The pure demon would apply a little force to his grip and break Fur's armor, then he would give a soft blow to the chest and completely destroy the armor, revealing Fur, who was motionless with fear. Dark. It's a waste to kill you, brat, but you're on the enemy side, we won't leave anyone alive, even if it's someone with incredible potential." He would materialize a huge sword in his hand and would be about to stab him in the chest. At that moment, everyone would see a powerful light materialize from the sky, falling on Dark, and he would be forced to let go of the brunette and retreat. As the light disappeared, everyone would see an angelic figure appear, holding the dark-haired boy in his arms. "You made a great effort, boy, thanks for taking the time taking him to Rias and the others," carefully leaving him on the ground, while the girls didn't know who that being was. Male. He is taking a step forward, changing his tone of voice to more serious, just like the others who would be alerted by this new unknown presence. "Rias? Who are you?" I would ask. "You may not know me since my name does not appear in any registry, but do not worry, I am on your side. Michael sent me to finish off these 6," turning to look at his enemies, while manifesting a pair of wings very different from those of the angels. These were of different colors, and seeing them transmitted many feelings of peace and tranquility. Alucard. Once again we meet Metriton increasing his power like the others. Metriton. It seems they never learned their lesson, they should have changed after I caught them and locked them in that disgusting prison, with a very soft and sweet voice. Rin. Damn Seraphim, this time we will finish you off with a sadistic voice. Metriton. You guys didn't learn either, my children. Looking at Dark and Male, who wouldn't flinch upon hearing that, but it would shock Rias and the others, since they would find out that Dark and Male were brothers, despite the fact that one is an angel and the other a demon. Elizabeth. This time don't get too confident, Metatron. We have someone very powerful among our ranks and he could defeat you. And as he finished saying that, something would land between the Seraph and the prisoners, creating a cloud of dust. There would appear none other than Issei, who unlike before, was very serious as he stared at Metriton and surprised the girls as he emanated a very dark power. Issei. Metriton. After Metriton vs the 6. Finally, the most powerful Seraphim had arrived, and his name was Metriton. He stood face to face with Issei and the prisoners. Issei. Metriton, I heard your name while I was in prison thanks to Serziches, you're Michael's brother, aren't you? I would ask seriously. Metriton. That's right, you must be the demon Issei that is being talked about so much in the supernatural world. I'm sorry to tell you this, but you are a threat to everyone, and I will have to finish you off in this place, pointing his enormous wings at the chestnut tree. Suddenly Dark and Male shot out and attacked the Seraph with impressive speed, but as they were a few meters away, their bodies refused to continue forward, and they separated to the left and right. Dark. Damned, clenching his fists as he summoned his demonic sword. Dark. Despite the years you haven't weakened one bit, comment. On the other hand, Male would make his 2 sacred swords appear, which would make Kiba, who was watching along with the other girls, feel a stab in his right hand. Male. This no longer concerns you, Metriton. Father has already died and your duty now is to be tied to heaven as father ordered. With great seriousness in his words. Metriton. I know what father ordered, but I can't stay and protect heaven while you two are destroying the supernatural worlds one by one and ending so many innocent lives. I would answer calmly. Issei. I think I heard a few moments ago that you called Dark and Male children. What do you mean by that? He would ask as he advanced and a dark mass surrounded his body, reaching assault mode. Metriton. That's right, they have never accepted it, but they are my children, and as their father retaliation is necessary, I would answer the brown-haired man. Male. Don't get confused, damn it, you'll never be our father. Preparing to counterattack. Metriton. That's enough, the words end here, and it's time to move on to the fists, raising his voice a little. In a quick movement, the chestnut in assault mode would launch himself at Metriton, creating a crater under his feet and delivering a powerful blow that the Seraphim was able to block thanks to his wings. Issei. Nice wings, but you'll need more, with a small smile. The powerful angel would feel that Dark and Male were on his back about to stab him with their powerful swords, but he would grab them with his wings and make them retreat. While doing that, he would also feel that above him were Elizabeth and Rin, who would launch 2 combined magical attacks with great force. Elizabeth. Don't trust yourself, stupid Seraphim casting the powerful magic. Rin. Don't underestimate us, die. She shouted angrily. The Seraphim would cover himself with his last 2 free wings, but the attack would be so powerful that his wings would slowly begin to succumb. He would look at Issei and get him out of the way, but he would notice a smile from the brown-haired man. He would quickly realize that one of the prisoners was missing, but it was too late. A powerful dark ray would pierce his leg, falling to his knees, and in the distance he would see the vampire Alucard. Metriton. You losing his balance while Alucard looked at him seriously. Alucard. You're going to pay me for locking me up in that prison, seeing how the powerful Seraphim weakened, and with that the girl's attack would hit him full on, creating a huge explosion, while the others would retreat. The demons, Rias and Sona's group, simply felt imposing since their last salvation had also been killed, but they would notice that the prisoners in Issei were still serious and looking at the place where the angel was. Kaneko. What happened? Is he still alive? I would ask. Rias. I don't know, but let's hope so. He's our last chance to get out of this alive, since I don't think Issei wants to socialize while Asia slowly healed everyone. Issei. Pay attention everyone, it's clear that attack didn't kill him without letting your guard down. All the prisoners had him surrounded in case something happened, but in a moment they would see how the cloud of dust that had been created by the explosion quickly disappeared since Metriton had used his wings to create a gust of wind. Metriton. I see that together you are much more powerful, that attack really hurt me so I will return the favor, this form is of no use to me, so I will use all my power against you. The bright aura would begin to surround the seraphim, causing everyone to cover their eyes, and seconds later they would see Metatron's new form. He had an imposing armor and for many it was the most beautiful thing they had ever seen in their lives. Metriton. Let's continue with the game, raising his arms a little. Everyone would be on guard, but in less than a blink of an eye Metatron would appear in front of Alucard and surrounding his arm with divine magic would hit the vampire who would try to protect himself with his spear, but it would simply break and he would receive the blow full on, sending him flying towards a building. When he turned around he would see Rin a few centimeters away who would put both hands pointing at his head and release a powerful magical attack that would burn his entire body. The ground beneath the angel had disappeared, but it would have no effect on the powerful armor who would grab the elf by the face and begin to fly a few centimeters from the ground while dragging his enemy's face across it in a brutal way. After a few meters, he would see Dark appear in front of him and behind him, Male, who would try to decapitate him, but the angel would quickly duck, dodging the two cuts and, turning 360 degrees, would cut his children's stomachs with his wings. He would stop and leave the bloody Rin lying on the ground. Metriton. Okay, there are 4 of us, you 2 are missing, seeing Issei and Elizabeth. Sona. An incredible looking with admiration at that savior. Akeno. How come we never heard of someone like him before? She would ask, confused like all the other girls. Rias. It's something that heaven has hidden very well, but thanks to it we will survive, but looking at Issei, you really have changed, I hope you don't suffer so much when Metriton kills you, closing her eyes, remembering those beautiful moments when they were children and everyone was friends. Elizabeth. What do we do? I would ask on guard. Issei. I don't know, he's very strong, so we'll have to coordinate very well, a bit nervous. Elizabeth. Scared? She would ask with a small smile. Issei. Who wouldn't be? This guy could be as strong as God himself. Smiling. Elizabeth. Okay, here we go. While lightning would begin to surround her body along with a white aura. The human girl would disappear in a flash from everyone's sight, while Issei would prepare a huge sphere of darkness and throw it at his enemy, who would block it with his wings with some ease, but when he wanted to return it, he would feel that waves of lightning would fall on his body that would leave him immobile for a few seconds, which would be enough for the dark sphere to consume him completely. The young Elizabeth would return wing to Issei's side without deactivating her power of lightning to see what effect that darkness would have on that seraphim. A few seconds would pass and suddenly everyone would see a powerful light and how little by little that darkness would disappear. Issei. Okay, let's go. Elizabeth disappears. The angel Metriton would make that darkness disappear, but when he wanted to locate his 2 enemies they were no longer there. Out of nowhere he would feel a powerful blow to his rib that would send him flying, and the one responsible for that blow was Issei. Metriton, when he wanted to recover from the blow, would receive another one from Elizabeth who would appear on his back, sending him again with a brown-haired man who would materialize thousands of dark spheres around him and throw them brutally at the angel who would manage to cover himself with all his wings. After that powerful attack everyone would see how the angel disappeared from their sight as the spheres would drag him to heaven. Elizabeth would increase her lightning power and the sky would turn dark, lightning falling onto the body of the human who would manifest all her power in her right arm and throw it at Metatron as a final attack. The girls were motionless, they couldn't believe what had happened, but they noticed that Issei's darkness had disappeared, as well as the power of Elizabeth's lightning, looking very exhausted. Issei. TSH, we used all our power to defeat him, we have to get out of here, looking at his partner. Elizabeth. Okay, we have to go find the others, I feel like they're still alive. These 2 would go to look for their companions, gathering them in the same place, and noticing that they were very injured, but still alive, they would carry them on their backs, but when they wanted to create a magic circle, they would see something fall from the sky and fall on solid ground, creating an enormous crater. Issei. It can't be, he would say angrily. Elizabeth. It's terrifying, surprised. Metriton. You guys are going to pay me for this, seeing himself with half of his armor destroyed and his skin very wounded. This powerful seraphim would hurl him at great speed toward his enemies, but as he was about to reach them, they would escape within the magic circle, and Metatron would pass by. He would stand up and begin to breathe heavily while looking up at the sky. Metriton. We'll meet again, clenching his fists. Chapter Training. After the crushing defeat of Issei's team, they would have teleported into the middle of a large forest far from the destroyed city, so that Metriton would not detect them and finish his job of finishing them off. Elizabeth. Damn, he's very powerful, leaving her companions carefully on the ground. Issei. We barely escaped, otherwise we would have died. For now it would be better to stay hidden and not make any movements until we get stronger or come up with a plan to defeat him, clenching his fists furiously. A few hours would pass, during which the chestnut tree, after traveling through the forest, would find a village in the distance and decide to go there to look for something to heal the wounds of his companions who had not yet awakened. The night would pass, and they would not move from their place until after a few days, their companions would awaken one by one and talk about that defeat. Issei. I didn't know he had the power of lightning, looking at the white-haired girl. Elizabeth. It's not something I'm proud of, that's why I won't kill him until there's real danger in which he could get hurt, she would comment, closing her eyes calmly. Issei. What is the reason? I would ask with curiosity. Elizabeth. It's a long story, but I simply inherited it from my father, who I would never want to see again in my life, I would answer. We changed the setting to a far, far away place, more specifically to Olympus, the home of the Norse gods. There we can see the young Zeldrus fighting against the powerful god of war Ares in a coliseum while being observed by the main Greek gods. The god of war was practically playing against Zeldrus, and he knew it very well, that's why he tried hard and at least hit his rival, but after a few minutes Ares would get bored, and with a few hits he would knock down the demon, thus winning the fight. Athena. I like that boy. Who is the father? The god of war would ask. Zeus. He is a young demon, leader of that famous revolutionary army. We brought him here since he had been defeated by his brother, and because he may be the chosen one to open that object, he would answer with a small smile. Athena. But he is still very weak, what do you think if I train him, father? Observing the young demon. Zeus. It's a good idea, I'll leave it in your care, Athena. Now we'll go to a meeting to talk about Zeldrus. Don't tell him anything. Walking to the exit with the other important gods. Hades. Are you sure about this, Zeus? The god of the underworld would ask. Poseidon. That's right, do you think Zeldrus could enter that place? Following his brother. Zeus. Calm down, brothers, I trust that Zeldrus is the chosen one, after all his other brother called Eststerosa is with the Nordics, so it is logical, he would answer with a calm smile. Ares. That's right, and he's getting closer to defeating me. I would comment on this. Hera. I think he's still the same as when we brought him, after all he still can't even reach you, responding to the god of war. Ares. You're wrong about that, even though it may not seem like it, I use almost all of my power, but I don't tell him so he'll try harder and think that I'm still far ahead of him. He would end up answering. Hermes. And what about the older brother called Issei? I would ask seriously. Zeus. It's none of our business, if he ever wants to destroy Olympus, I'll destroy him myself. I would answer. Apollo. What if it gets stronger? I would ask. Hades. I will take his soul, after all he is a demon, and I am the god of the underworld, I would answer without further ado. We returned to the Colosseum, Zeldrus would open his eyes and shake off all the dust he had, since he had been thrown towards a pillar. Zeldrus. THS, even though months have passed, I am still weak against Ares, standing up with great helplessness. Athena. Hello, young Zeldrus, calling the attention of this one whose eyes would light up upon seeing the beauty of that goddess. Zeldrus. You are Athena-sama, about to kneel. Athena. Wait, you don't have to do that, with great kindness. The young demon would look into her eyes, and the goddess would approach him, caress his face and smile at him. Zeldrus would be forced to close his eyes, as she radiated a great purity in the form of light. Athena. Follow me, young man, from now on I will train you for a few months, walking and behind Zeldrus, who would not reproach at all. Zeldrus. Incredible, I've never felt this feeling, he would say, mentally admiring the figure of the goddess. Thus, everything would come to a standstill for several long months. Estterosa would begin training with the fire titan Surtur and Zeldrus, alongside the goddess Athena. Regarding Issei and his team, nothing more would be known about them during this time, as they remained discreet so as not to attract attention. Metriton would return to heaven and apologize to his brother Michael, since he had failed in the mission. Chapter 8, Big Surprise. The training had ended. 10 peaceful months had passed for all the races, as the three brothers trained on their own. We focused on the youngest of the three, Zeldrus. He was walking through Olympus with a calm face and a more mature air, as he followed the goddess Athena. Zeldrus. Thank you for the armor, but why did you give it to me? He would ask his teacher. Athena. It's a symbol that you are my student, when you become a teacher, you will be able to wear your own teacher's outfit, I would comment with a small amused smile. Zeldrus. I see, where are we going? He would ask curiously. Athena. Let's go to the main room where my father is, I want to introduce you to 2 people, I would answer. Zeldrus. Okay, no more questions. They would finally arrive, and in front of them there was a door about 3 meters long, and when Athena touched it with her staff it would open automatically. The 2 would enter, and the black-haired man would see on a large table the gods Zeus, Hades, Poseidon and 2-headed men. Zeus. They were taking too long, he would comment in a serious tone. Athena. Come, sit down, I would say to Zeldrus, and the two would go and sit down. Zeus. Very well, Zeldrus, you're probably wondering why my daughter Athena brought you here. Looking at the brown-haired man. Zeldrus. Athena-sensei told me she wanted me to meet someone, I would answer. Zeus. That's right, and those people are these two hooded men, you can take it off now. Looking at that guy. The two mysterious people would take off their hoods, and Zeldrus would open his eyes in surprise to see that those people were none other than his parents. Zeldrus. Boo, but what? He would ask himself, motionless. The goddess Elizabeth, who could no longer hold back her tears, would jump on top of her beloved son to hug him and continue crying with happiness. Elizabeth. My dear son, you are so grown up, with great happiness in her eyes. Zeldrus. Mother shedding tears and hugging her. Meliodas. Well, you've really grown, with a smile. Zeldrus. Father, they're back with great happiness. After a few seconds the three would calm down and return to their seats, but this time the family would sit next to each other, like in the picture above, and the chatting would begin. Zeldrus. Where have you been all this time? He would ask with a cheerful smile. Elizabeth. I'm sorry, my son, but many things have happened. Looking away sadly. Zeldrus. What do you mean? Noticing his mother's face. Meliodas. Son, calling his attention, we have died, saying that his son's face would freeze. He would not know what expression to put or what to say. What you are seeing now are only our souls which were summoned thanks to Zeus. He did us this last favor before dying, since we wanted to see at least one of you before resting in peace forever, he would tell him. Zeldrus. And how long will they be here? The black-haired man would ask, scared. Elizabeth. We'll be there for an hour at most, son, but don't worry, we'll spend this hour together like we did years ago when you were a little boy, with a melancholic smile. Zeldrus. I understand now that damn Issei did this to you. I swear I'll avenge you, with great anger on his face. Meliodas. What? What do you mean? I would ask seriously. Zeldrus. I remember, he killed them, and then he wanted to finish me and Estterosa, with great determination on his face. Elizabeth. No son, that's not true. Angry, those guys manipulated your memory, touching her forehead. Zeldrus. What do you mean? I would ask without knowing. Meliodas. Listen son, Issei would never do that to us, he really loved us just like he loved you. What you think now was only a product of mental manipulation, but right now we will return you to normal. Seriously. Elizabeth. Okay, let's do it, it might hurt a little son, but hold on, standing up just like Meliodas. Meliodas. What are you doing? Watching as his parents placed their hands on his head and he became unconscious. Zeus. Those bastards, who do you think manipulated your memory? He would ask somewhat angrily. Meliodas. Who else but the cursed dragon of office? After all, she possesses half the power of chaos, just like Great Red. He would answer without taking his gaze off Zeldrus. Elizabeth. You know this will take up as much time as we have left, don't you, Meliodas? She would ask with a sad smile. Meliodas. Yes, but we have to do it for our son, we won't let anyone else try to manipulate him, with determination. The whole hour would pass like this, and Zeldrus would begin to open his eyes, and the first thing he would see were the Olympian gods. Zeldrus. And my parents? He would ask, upset. Poseidon. Look back, listening to him and looking back. He would see how his parents' bodies lit up and became increasingly transparent as they began to disappear. Zeldrus. Wait, don't leave yet, I haven't talked enough with you yet. Approaching the couple. Elizabeth. We can't, son, but don't worry, we'll always be here. Touching his chest, pointing at his heart. Meliodas. Remember to join your brothers, you share blood, you shouldn't fight. Stroking his hair with a smile. Elizabeth. Listen son, don't fight for revenge, always fight for justice, never do wrong, always do good, never judge someone without knowing them first, and lastly, always help others. Giving him a kiss on the forehead. Meliodas. One last thing son, I also had a younger brother named Zeldrus, he was really powerful and even surpassed me many times, we named you in his honor, so do not disappoint him, be someone brave and with honor, you can do it my son, and remember. Melilai. We will always be watching you, we love you son, with a sad smile and disappearing into the air. Zeldrus. Dad, mom, falling to his knees while shedding many tears. Hades. I don't like dramatic goodbyes, standing up and leaving the room. Poseidon. Me neither, leaving with Hades, and when leaving the two would hug each other and shed some tears of sadness. Zeus. They were incredible people while they were here, I swear I will never let your son be hurt again, he would say to himself with a melancholic smile. Zeldrus. I was wrong, my brother Issei never did that, and I hurt him, all this is my fault, I'm sorry mom and dad, I feel very sorry, I don't deserve to be your son, he would say it with great sadness. Zeus. Don't say such things, they are very proud of you, they themselves told me when they were here many years ago, placing his hand on the young demon's shoulder. Zeldrus. Zeus, tell me what made my parents die, I would tell him, crying. Athena. Don't worry, Zeldrus, I'll tell you, wiping away a tear. Flashback. After they were sent on a mission by order of the former advisors as they wanted to keep Meliodas and Elizabeth away so they could kill the three brothers, Issei, Eststerosa and Zeldrus, without them interfering. They would appear in what appeared to be a huge castle. Since the coordinates of the magic circle had sent them there, they would walk for a while seeing the entire castle, but they would realize that there was no sunlight, but at that moment everything would vanish. Meliodas. So an illusion, huh? With a serious face. They would see that they were on a huge rock and in front of a giant who looked like the universe itself, but with a human form that inspired great imposing power. Elizabeth. Who are you? The goddess would ask while they were on guard since they would know that this guy did not have good intentions. They have finally arrived. My name is Chaos, and you have had very bad luck. You, heirs of the Demon King and Supreme Deity, will end up like your ancestors, and I will cut the bloodline with my own hands, I would answer them with an imposing voice. Meliodas. What did you say? Angry. Thus would begin a great battle, Meliodas and Elizabeth, known by all beings as the two most powerful entities in the world, fighting against chaos itself in a brutal and very even combat. The blonde would be using the power of the Demon King and Elizabeth, the power of the Supreme Deity, with which they would seriously damage chaos, and managing to separate it in two, which in the future would be called Office and the Great Red, but Meliodas and Elizabeth were very exhausted and wounded. These two had achieved a feat that no one had even imagined, but they could not do it anymore. Being about to die, the two would try one last thing. They would sacrifice their powers, and with them creating a portal to return to the human world, but before that chaos, knowing that it could not enter the earth, would curse them. So they were returning, but there was a miscalculation, and they would fall on Olympus very wounded. Zeus. I see, so these are the two guys who appeared from a portal, seeing the two unconscious and many soldiers on guard, while other gods would be curious to know who they were. The father of the gods would take pity on them and heal them. Several hours later the couple would wake up and tell the gods about what had happened, and they would be shocked to know that they had fought against chaos, who not even the god of the Bible could defeat. So from there they would begin to act like simple humans with only a bit of the power they had before, but they would not return to the human world because they would know that it was dangerous if they returned, since chaos could detect them and kill their three children, but what they did not know is that chaos for some reason could not enter the earth, so they would spend their days in peace. Until the fateful day would come, the curse would take effect, and after a week they would fall completely without energy. The gods would know what they were about, so they would be very sad, because despite having been there only a week, the two of them had won the hearts of the gods, thanks to how they are. After a few hours of unconsciousness the couple would die, thus the gods would save their bodies, in case they ever found one of their children. End of flashback. Zeldrus. They did all that for me, lowering his gaze with great sadness. Athena. They were the purest people I've ever seen, they really changed this whole place for the better, and I'm very grateful to them, with a smile. Zeus. Zeldrus, your parents were incredible people, you should feel proud to have them as parents, they did everything for you three, so now you have to do everything to reconcile them, supporting the black-haired man. Zeldrus. Fine, I'll make Eststerosa and Issei my brothers again, wiping away his tears. After the power of Eststerosa. We can see a place full of rocks, volcanoes, lava, fire and destruction everywhere. This place is the ninth world, which is called Muspelheim, and there are two people. One of them is a young white-haired man who would be with his legs crossed and eyes closed on top of a giant rock. This was none other than Eststerosa, the middle brother. Out of nowhere, a huge ball of fire approached him at great speed with the intention of hurting him, but the white-haired man would slowly stand up and stretch out his arm. The fireball would stop dead just a few inches from his hand and divert it to a very distant place, in which when it touched the ground, a huge flame of fire would be seen that would completely melt a mountain. Following this, he would feel a large number of fireballs approaching him, and, even without opening his eyes, he would create a kind of fire blades in his hands and would get into a battle pose. The young Eststerosa would begin to cut the fireballs as if they were pieces of paper, and others he would simply dodge, but without moving from where he was, thus making the attacks disappear and his blades disappear. He would remain standing for a few seconds without making any movement until at one point in the distance he would feel a powerful attack approaching. He would finally open his eyes and become serious before that attack, which was in the form of a dragon. Eststerosa. I will do it, I will not hesitate before anyone, and I will use all my power. He would bring his two hands together and create a small sphere of fire, slowly throwing it towards the dragon, and from 1 second to the next, the small sphere would become enormous, even bigger than the dragon itself, which could do nothing against the sphere of fire created by this Rosa. The sphere of fire would continue on, and from one moment to the next it would explode, creating an incredible flame of fire that would reach the sky. Well done, Rosa, you have learned well, I have nothing more to teach you, a huge fire titan would comment, approaching the white-haired man from his left. Eststerosa. Okay, thanks sir, thanking calmly. Cert. I'm warning you something, boy, be careful, because right now anything that touches your fire will turn to ash, no matter who it is, starting to create a sword of fire in his hand. Eststerosa. I'll keep that in mind without looking at it. Cert. Good, now get out of my world. He would shout, angrily attacking him and cutting the mountain. Before the attack could reach him, Estterosa managed to jump and looked at the Titan with a small smile as his body began to disappear. Estterosa. Thanks for the training, it was worth it disappearing completely. Cert. TSH, that kid going to sit on his throne, he's become very strong, it's a miracle he's not someone evil like his stupid brother, closing his eyes. On the other hand, the powerful god Odin had used his teleportation to bring Estterosa back to Asgard since her training had ended. Odin. How are you? He would ask with his characteristic tranquility. Estterosa. I have learned a lot, starting to walk with the god. Cert is a very good teacher and he also taught me to handle his fire, which will help me a lot. Odin. I'm glad for you, Rosa, have you achieved your goal? Estterosa. That's right, but I have a question for you. Why do they have Cert there? I would ask curiously. Odin. That's his punishment, boy. He's done very bad things in the past and I had to send him there so he wouldn't cause more catastrophes, but with the passage of time he liked that place, so now he doesn't try to escape anymore. I would answer without further ado. Estterosa. I see, during these months he didn't seem like someone evil to me. Comment. Odin. What's your next move? I would ask curiously. Estterosa. I want to test my power against someone very powerful. I want to test how much fire I can get out of my body, looking at his hands with a smile. Odin. I see, I have someone you could measure yourself against, but I warn you, you could die in a matter of seconds if you are not powerful enough. I would speak. Estterosa. Who is it? I would ask something more serious. Odin. That is the snake Nidhogg, but this Rose would look at him with a face as if she didn't know who he was. It's normal that she doesn't know who it is. I'll tell you in a very brief summary, making the white-haired man pay attention. As you know, there are 9 worlds and you went to the world of Muspelheim, which is the one below to train, but have you ever wondered what these 9 worlds are made of? Looking at him. Estterosa. Now that I think about it, without having an answer. Odin. A tree. The 9 worlds are supported by a great tree, and next to the 9 worlds, there are many types of monsters living in the branches of these. The one I would like you to fight is against one of these animals. Finishing speaking. Estterosa. I see, but how will I get there? I would ask. Odin. I could take you there, but not through the portal, but with my own magic, since no one knows how to get to that legendary tree that holds everything. He would answer, but for now rest, in a few days you will fight, so take it easy. Estterosa. I see, it's okay, but someone would appear in front of him, and this was his great friend Brunilda, who looked very worried. Oh, you arrived very quickly. Unexpectedly, he would receive a hug from the leader of the Valkyries, and for some strange reason he would feel a warmth he had never felt before, which would surprise him. Brunilda. It's been a long time, Thor, and I have been very worried about you for these months. Smiling. Estterosa. But I'm here now, I'm fine, with a small smile. Odin. For now I'll return to the castle, if you need anything let me know. Saying goodbye. Brunilda. What are you going to do now? She would ask as they walked. Estterosa. For now I don't know, I'll just stay here until something happens regarding Issei and Zeldrus lying to him. So they would chat for hours until night fell and the chestnut tree would return to its home. It would eat, and when it was about to go to sleep, someone would appear out of nowhere inside its house. This was the lightning god Thor. Estterosa. Oh friend, hugging after a long time and starting a conversation. Thor. So that fool taught you how to control fire, huh? With a beer in his hand, a little drunk. Estterosa. That's right, that fool who is your enemy trained me. Laughing, both drunks. Thor. One thing. Why did you lie to Brunhilde? Referring to his fight against the snake. Estterosa. So you know? He would ask, somewhat surprised. Thor. That's right, I can know everything in Asgard. In the end everything ends up reaching me one way or another. With a defiant smile. Estterosa. Because I don't want to worry her, I know that she and I are becoming closer and closer beyond friendship, and that's why I don't want her to worry about me, because I know that one day I could die at any moment. Taking a sip of beer. Thor. I understand you, but you know that I will not let you die just like that. If necessary I will kill your 2 brothers together, if that were the case. Smiling. Estterosa. Thanks friend, returning the smile. So these 2 would spend the whole night drinking until they fell asleep. Days would pass, with Estterosa and Brunilda growing closer to each other, but after 2 weeks, the day would come. The white-haired man would go to the god Odin, and he would prepare a wormhole with his own powers. Odin. Remember, if you are in danger you will have to save yourself, no one will go for you, not even me, he would tell the young man. Estterosa. Well, I know you have a kingdom to protect, so I myself would refuse to let you help me. Entering the portal. Upon entering he would see a night so dark in which there seemed to be nothing, but thanks to still having some demonic genes he could see clearly, and when touching the ground, he would notice that it was wood, coming to the conclusion that he was on one of the branches. He would walk for a few minutes, but from one moment to the next, he would feel something to his left, and when he saw he would be shocked to see a giant creature, so enormous that the fire titan was too small for him. So colossal that it looked like an ant before an elephant. This creature was nothing more and nothing less than the Nidhogg snake which was in the branches of the enormous tree. Eststerosa. I see, so this is the snake. While a drop of sweat fell down his forehead, I'm sure it's asleep. He would take a step and make a very small noise, but this was enough for the enormous snake to wake up, and the first thing he would see was the white-haired man. Eststerosa. Shit, he wouldn't finish speaking because he would receive a powerful attack from the snake's tail which would send him flying. He would crash into a huge branch and would be surprised by the incredible strength of his enemy, since he would already be bleeding from a single blow and would remember Odin's words. Odin. I warn you, you could die in a matter of seconds if you are not powerful enough. Eststerosa. Damn, I have to. He couldn't stand up because the snake would stand in front of him and look at him with a piercing face. Nidhogg. Who are you? With an imposing voice like Shenlong from Dragon Ball Z. Eststerosa. Can you speak? Surprised, I am a challenger. I have come to test my power against you standing up. Nidhogg. I see, so Odin brought me more food sarcastically. The white-haired man was about to say something, but the snake would attack him again with its tail at a speed which he could not see and crashing into another huge branch. Eststerosa. I can't do anything trying to stand up. Nidhogg. Did you really think that with that level you could stand in front of me and survive? Your species is so self-centered that it makes me angry. Your 9 worlds will be devoured by me when I reach that damn eagle that is at the top of this tree. With a small smile. The huge snake would slowly open its mouth to eat Eststerosa, who could not move, but they would hear someone else. This voice was none other than Brunilda, who was on another branch. Brunilda. Wait. She would shout angrily, don't you dare do that, launching herself towards the snake with her Valkyrie armor. When trying to cut the powerful scale of the snake, his sword would simply break and it would be forced to retreat. Nidhogg, without hesitating for a second, would launch himself at it, which with his outstanding speed, would escape and lose it to return to the white-haired man. Brunilda. Eststerosa bending down to help her. Eststerosa. What are you doing here? He would ask somewhat angrily. Brunhilde. Thor told me, he said you could die, so I should help you, taking him by the arm. Eststerosa. Damn idiot, I told him not to open his mouth standing up. Brunhilde. No, I'm grateful to him because if you die it's as if something in me died, so if you die I will die too. They both looked at each other. The enormous snake would disappear again and, without leaving them any chance, would send Brunilda flying with a swipe of its tail with incredible power. Nidhogg. I won't leave any of them alive, I'll go for the trouble first, going after the Valkyrie. Eststerosa. Wait. I was the one who challenged you, falling to the ground without energy. The snake would not pay attention to her and would be about to eat the unconscious Brunilda, while Eststerosa watched everything with great helplessness. Eststerosa. Damn, this is my fault. Brunilda will die because of me. I have to do something. Come on, was your training for nothing? He would say to himself. The snake, just a few centimeters away from eating the girl, would see a powerful light. She would turn around and would watch as this rose slowly stood up while a fire similar to the sun illuminated her body. Eststerosa. Come on, you bucking snake, I was the one who wanted to fight you, with a thicker tone of voice. Nidhogg. That fire so sir trained you, huh? Launching himself towards him with great speed. The white-haired man would throw a huge fireball at him, which the snake would be forced to dodge, seeing how the fireball burned the enormous branches of the tree. He would turn around to look at his enemy again, but he was no longer there. He would try to locate him, but he would see that he was next to Brunilda. Eststerosa. I will protect you, you are one of the few things I have left, looking at her sadly. But he would see that his fire was also beginning to hurt her and melt her armor, as if it were paper. Eststerosa. I see, I hurt you too, turning to look at the snake. I know what I should do after this, launching himself against the snake. These two would have a great battle where Eststerosa hit and received equal parts for minutes. A small part of the tree would be damaged thanks to Estterosa's fire, but this would not affect the enormous tree that could support 9 worlds. The place looked like that world of fire in which the Asgardian trained, since his incredible fire illuminated the entire place. The snake enjoyed it more and more, and Estterosa did not back down, hitting and attacking with many techniques that she could do with her Asgardian magic and fire. The enormous fight was even until several minutes passed, where the white-haired man's fire increasingly faded, and Nidhogg would notice this but would not say anything. She would simply fight alongside her enemy, lowering her power so as not to humiliate him. Nidhogg. You are very strong, brat, with joy in his words. They would continue fighting until the moment came when the fire would go out completely and Estterosa would fall before Brunilda, desperate since he had run out of power. Nidhogg. Your flames went out, boy, now you're all mine, just like your girlfriend launching himself to eat it. The Asgardian would unhesitatingly put his body to protect Brunhilde, trying to stop it with his bare hands, but when he was about to make contact, the snake would stop dead in its tracks. Nidhogg. Calm down, Asgardian, I won't eat you, you've shown me to be a true warrior like Odin, and not a selfish one like the other beings of the 9 worlds. I'll let you go for now, but if one day you challenge me again, I won't hesitate to eat you, leaving. Eststerosa. Brunhilde. Turning around and carrying her in his arms. The portal would appear, and he would enter to appear again in Asgard in front of Odin, who would look at him with an amused smile. Odin. You survived, I really didn't trust you to get out of there alive. Eststerosa. That snake was very strong, would you help me? He gave Brunhilde a hug and immediately fell unconscious. Odin. Heh, he's the one. After the wisest man in the world. Estterosa's fight with the great serpent was over. The white-haired man and Brunhilde would return to Asgard, but they would fall unconscious. A few days would pass, and Estterosa would finally wake up, and upon opening her eyes, she would immediately see the almighty Odin. Estterosa. Odin saw me, somewhat surprised by the presence of the god. Odin. You finally wake up, come, I want to introduce you to someone, walking like this towards the exit. Upon leaving, they would meet the god of thunder, Thor himself. Upon seeing him, she would give him a great blow that would send him flying into some trees. Estterosa. Why did you send Brunhilde to that world? Angry with his friend. Thor. What did you say? I would never send Brunhilde to that place. Something serious. Estterosa. Stop lying, Thor, she told me herself, going towards the god. The white-haired man would get closer to Thor to hit him, since he felt great anger inside him, but would be stopped by the old man. Odin. Stop. With a raised and immediately pink tone of voice, he would stop dead in his tracks. I believe Thor, not because he is my son, but because I believe that the one responsible for that was Loki, saying that the young man would stop to think about it. Estterosa. That damn god, the next time I see him I'll beat him up, going with Thor and shaking his hand. Excuse me, friend, I judged you without thinking, receiving Thor's hand. Thor. You're a fool, smiling, but then he would hit the white-haired man, sending him flying. We're even now laughing together. I'm glad you're back alive, my friend. Odin. Come on, boy, I don't have all day walking and being followed by the white-haired man. The god and the boy would walk for hours through the land of the giants, until they reached the top of a large hill, on which there was a large tree and tied to it an old man who was missing an eye. Oh, Odin, the old man would say calmly. Odin. Hey old man, I want to introduce you to someone, letting this pink one see. He is being interrupted. Mimir. Oh, so the famous hero of Asgard is pink, huh, with a small smile. Estterosa. Who are you? He would ask curiously. Odin. He is Mimir, the man who knows everything in this world, I would answer. Estterosa. And why is he tied to this tree? Seeing the head of that old man. Odin. It's a long story, the reason why I brought you here is so that you can resolve any doubts you have. You can ask him anything, I know you have many questions, so he will help you leaving the place. Estterosa. Wait, Odin-sama. Calling his attention, he said, why are you helping me so much? First, sending me to train with Surt, then sending me to fight that snake, and now with Mimir. Odin. I don't know, I just feel like I have to, and without further ado he would leave. Mimir. A man of few words, don't worry, he's always been like that. Comment. Estterosa. I feel like he expects a lot from me, I must keep progressing with self-esteem. Mimir. So the reason why you want to keep progressing is to finish off your brothers, right? Surprising the white-haired man. Estterosa. That's right, I'm surprised you really know everything, looking at the old man. Mimir. Then let me tell you that you are a fool, disconcerting the young man. Estarrosa. Huh? Why? I would ask, confused. Mimir. Because this reason makes no sense, fighting against two people who truly love you. Don't you realize that you have been manipulated? I would ask with great calm. Estterosa. What did you say? What do you mean I've been manipulated? Upset by what was said. Mimir. That's right, the demons have manipulated you so that you 3 brothers self-destruct each other, responding. Estterosa. That can't be possible, Zeldrus also knew that Issei wanted to kill our parents, confused. Mimir. I'll tell you a little story, boy. Thus telling him everything about his parents, how they faced chaos and ended up in Olympus losing all their powers. Well, the 3 of them were manipulated by the demons, so that when Issei remembers Alyssa again, the magic placed in him and that of Zeldrus would activate, changing his memories to what he currently considers true, which is that Issei killed his parents and then wanted to do the same with his 2 younger brothers. Estterosa. That's it, taking a few steps back and grabbing his head tightly. Mimir. Remember, boy, right now you have almost no demonic blood, so you can break that magic that was imposed on you, seeing how the white-haired man suffered from the pain. A few minutes would pass, and the white-haired man would finally stop feeling pain, but he was sweating a lot, his gaze lost as he continued lying on the floor. Estterosa. I really messed up, I'm stupid, he would whisper. Mimmer. Don't say that, boy, this is not your fault, it's from those demons, despite the centuries they have never changed, and they continue doing the same with some fury in his words. Eststerosa. I heard my brothers who did so much for me, I wanted to kill them, standing up slowly. Mimmer. But you didn't do it, you still have a chance to fix things, I would say to encourage him. Eststerosa. You're right, compassing himself, I look for my brothers and we'll fix things, but first I want to talk to you, I have some questions, sitting in front of the old man. Mimmer. Sure, ask me whatever you want, boy. So they would spend a few hours talking and answering the white-haired man's questions that would later help him. Night would fall, and he would say goodbye to return home. When he arrived, he would see none other than Brunilda inside. Brunilda. Eststerosa. Throwing herself at him, and without warning she would give him a kiss on the mouth, which would be answered by the white-haired man. Eststerosa. Why did you do that? Confused. Brunilda. Because I like you, I love you so much, and I would like to spend the rest of my life with you, hugging him by the neck while they looked at each other happily. Eststerosa. I like you too, Brunilda. I swear that from now on everything will change. Giving her another kiss. After this, the two would spend the night together at Estterosa's house. Meanwhile, in the human world, we can see a huge ship setting sail, with Issei himself in front of it. He looked very different. He had a more mature appearance, with completely white skin combined with black. He looked at the sea with a blank face, but it seemed as if the place they were setting sail from was an island in complete chaos. At that moment, we can see how Elizabeth, human, approaches him from behind and takes his hand, looking out to sea, just like the now white-haired man. Elizabeth. Now what? She would ask with an empty voice. Issei. We will go to the underworld, we will destroy all the worlds without leaving anyone alive, he would answer calmly. Elizabeth. I see, then we'll start over, without changing her tone of voice. Issei. Does that bother you? I would ask. Elizabeth. It's not like that, it's just that there are many beings that could defeat us, but it doesn't matter, if you're by our side we'll finish off anyone. All the rest of the group were behind them, listening to everything, reaffirming what the beautiful human had said, and these were. Arc, demon. Male, angel. Rin, elf. Alucard, vampire. Chapter war breaks out. We see Issei's team at the top of a large hill looking at the immense city that they had destroyed months ago, and where they had had the intense battle against Metroton, which they ended up losing. Issei. Those humans, despite all the mess we made, they're recompassing themselves, seeing how the city was being rebuilt by the humans in their huge machines. Elizabeth. We are like that, referring to herself as human, maybe it's thanks to God who is our creator, maybe he gave us this peculiarity. Calm down. Issei. God, what is really God? Confusing the white-haired girl. Elizabeth. What do you mean? She would ask, confused. Issei. Why is that being treated as God when in reality in this world there is more than one God, for example the Greek gods or the Nordic ones? Comment. Elizabeth. I don't know, I've only heard that God is the creator of humanity and the most powerful being that has ever existed in this world. I would answer. Issei. So the most powerful, huh? Watching humanity calmly. Elizabeth. In old stories that my father told me, he said that there are other beings that were equal to God, for example the dragon Trihexa or the being called Chaos, but I really don't believe that is true, surprising the brown-haired boy a little. Issei. If I remember correctly, your father is Zeus, isn't he? Therefore, you are a goddess too. Looking into her eyes. Elizabeth. That's right, that's why my power is lightning, but you're wrong about one thing, I'm not a goddess, I'm a demigoddess, my mother was human. Something sad. Issei. I see, sorry for the question. Looking ahead again, it's really impressive the companions we have, isn't it? Calling Eli's attention, we have Dark and Male, who despite being of different races are blood brothers, then we have Alucard, who is one of the few vampires left alive in this world, then Liz, who is an elf, and very few elves leave their world, since it is said that they are very weak, and then there is you, a demigoddess, surprising Elizabeth a little since he was right. Elizabeth. Don't forget about yourself, you freed us from that stormy prison and gave us a goal, which is to follow you and see all your dreams come true, well along the way we fulfill ours, even if we only move for revenge. Melancholica. Issei. I being interrupted. Rin. It's time, the portal is ready, having created a large portal to teleport them all. Issei. Okay, it's time, going to the portal and disappearing. The powerful terrorist group would appear in hell and begin to cause chaos in a huge city to draw the attention of Successors and the other demon kings and achieving their goal, since at one point the kings would appear together with a huge army of demonic soldiers on top of a building. Successors. We were waiting for you, Isay. We knew you would appear at any moment, so we were ready, seeing that the enemy group was on top of another building. Isay. You've arrived quickly, Successors. Too bad, you'll see with your own eyes how the entire underworld disappears, I would comment seriously. Ajuka. Are you really planning to do something like that? He would comment, bewildered. Serafal. I don't care if you're my sister's friend, you'll die right here after all the victims they claimed, increasing her demonic power. The powerful demon would fly at great speed against Issei to kill him with great fury, while the brown-haired man would simply remain observing her. Falbium, fourth demon king. Wait, Seraphol. He shouted to his partner. The demon queen would be in front of the chestnut tree and would create many magic circles but would stop because Elizabeth would appear in front of her as if she were a ray, and in slow motion you would see how the prisoner would put the palm of her hands on the demon's stomach and she would receive a powerful charge that would make her scream. The demon queen would fall unconscious from almost 100 meters, but before touching the ground, Elizabeth would raise her hand and a huge lightning bolt would fall from the sky that would hit the unconscious Seraphol. Falbium. Seraphol. Flying towards her to help her. Surziches. Damn, I'll finish her off in just a few seconds, nervous just like Ajuka. Ajuka. Michael and Azazel's army will be arriving soon, we just have to buy time, I would tell him. Issei. What's happening, Surziches? Looking at him. Surziches. I was just surprised that a subordinate of yours finished off a Mau so quickly, but it doesn't matter, this will be your grave. 6 looking at it seriously. The two mass would rise a few meters thanks to their wings and would combine a magic circle so that their powers would unite, thus launching a large sphere of darkness towards the building, but before it hit Issei and the others, they would manage to dodge them and the building would disappear into particles while the prisoners remained flying. Issei. That's a bit dangerous, but it won't be that bad as long as we dodge it. Comment. They would see how 5 more balls of darkness were going towards them, but Dark and Male would get ahead of them, who would summon their swords and return the attack as if it were baseball. Surziches. But what? That magic, the two mass separating. These two would not be able to reunite since Alucard and Rin would appear behind them. The powerful vampire would undoubtedly pierce Ajuka's chest and Rin would try to cut her neck, but a divine attack made her retreat. Surziches. Ajuka. Going for his friend. The person responsible for saving Surziches would be Michael, who had arrived in the underworld with his army of angels and also with his sister Michael. Issei. Oh, so Michael, huh? With a small self-centered smile. Michael. We came here to stop you, Issei, you can't do this more seriously than usual. Issei. Stop talking, stupid angel, fixing his gaze on Miguel. So she's the famous Miguel, huh? I feel an aura similar to that of Metriton, smiling. Michael. Are you the demon causing chaos in the world? I'll take care of you myself, demon. Materializing his sword. Male. I'll take care of it, the powerful angel would say, taking a step forward. Issei. It goes without saying, but be careful, she is almost as powerful as Metriton. Male. Yes, I know. The two angels looked at each other. The powerful divine beings Michael and Male would launch themselves against each other, clashing swords and creating a powerful shock wave, beginning their fierce battle. Issei. Hey Michael, calling his attention, where is Metatron? I have some matters with him which I would like to resolve, making the angel frown. Michael. He will come soon, therefore you will fight against me, giving the order to his army of angels to attack, which would join with the demonic army to attack the prisoners. The war would begin. Alucard, Rin, Dark and Elizabeth would take care of the army, while Issei would start a fight against Male and Surziches, who was very furious. On the other hand, Falbium, fourth demon king, would see from the ground that the immense war would begin in the heavens, but he would carry the dying Seraphol in his arms and create a magic circle to leave the place. The minutes would pass and the enormous army would begin to decrease since they were being devastated by the demons, while Michael and Surziches were also being seriously injured by the brown-haired. Michael. He is playing with us, he hasn't even been using his darkness, moving away a little. Surziches. Damn, we have to buy time until Azazel arrives. He wouldn't finish speaking since a voice would interrupt him. Azazel. Were you expecting me? With his typical smile. Michael. Azazel. Noticing how behind the fallen one there was a huge army of fallen angels. Azazel. I've arrived and I've brought someone, pointing at Rias and Sauna's group. Surziches. Rias, what are you doing here? He would ask, bewildered. Rias. I came to help, brother, soon the others will arrive, like father, mother, Sarerg, Razor, and everyone else. Comment, determined to anything like the others. Issei. Enough talk, the fact that Azazel and Rias have arrived doesn't change anything, everyone will die anyway, smiling confidently. Rias. I'm sorry, Issei, but we are no longer friends, now we are enemies, and I will not forgive you for everything you have done, raising her power of destruction. Azazel. Well, let's do it. Come. Surziches and Michael. Rias and Sauna's team would create a huge magic circle together with the faction leaders. All of them would unite their magic and launch a powerful and gigantic magical attack at the chestnut tree, which would be visible from far away. Some would stop their battles to see what would happen. Alucard. Do you think he could withstand that? I would ask seriously. Rin. Of course, Issei is very powerful and something like that won't do anything to him, confidently following the fight against a huge army. The immense attack would hit Issei squarely, crashing against the ground and creating an immense explosion that would surprise everyone, but they would not stop and would continue fighting. Surziches. I hope I at least damaged it. Comment. Azazel. I hope so, we've been training this technique for a long time. Smiling. On the other hand, in the fierce battle between Mael and Miguel, they seemed to be very evenly matched in their sword techniques. Miguel. Not bad for just an experiment with self-centeredness. Michael. Not bad for being your brother's shadow responding in kind. They would continue clashing swords at a speed that no one could see, and if any soldier got in their way they would end up dead without even knowing how, but these two did not stop. It was undoubtedly the fiercest combat of the immense war. Michael. So you finally took off that horrible armor, separating himself from his enemy. Mael. That's right, there was someone who made me feel good about myself. Now I will show you the true face of the one that those in heaven did not want to see, launching himself again against his enemy and resuming the fight. Surziches. Rias. Calling your attention, I want all of you to leave here, we will stay fighting against Issei, referring to Michael and Azazel. Rias. What? No. I caused all of this and I want to at least help, she would say angrily. Michael. Listen to your brother Rias-san, this place is very dangerous and you could die at any moment. This is not the same as simple renegade demons, this goes much further, I would tell him. Rias. But I wouldn't finish speaking because they would hear a sound from afar. The cause of this sound was Issei, who was going through all the buildings at an enormous speed, but everyone would notice that his body had changed. Finally he was using darkness and he looked even more evil than before. This powerful demon headed towards the leaders, but some soldiers would try to stop him. The brown-haired man, creating a sword with his darkness, would cut them all without any effort and would continue on his way. Surziches. Rias. Quickly run away. I would scream. The chestnut tree was only a few meters away. The leaders wouldn't know what to do since he hadn't left them time to think. Issei would accumulate darkness in his hand to deliver an incredible punch directed at Azazel, but when he was about to deliver it, a huge light would appear from the sky right in front of the fallen angel. Elizabeth. It has arrived, stopping to look. Miguel. Brother, seeing that light. Mael. Stopping the fight. The leaders would be shocked to see that powerful light, but when it faded, they would realize it was none other than Metatron, the most powerful angel in heaven and the one closest to God. He had stopped the chestnut's powerful blow, saving Azazel. Issei. You finally arrived, backing away. Metatron. I had some more important matters, now I am here and I will stop this absurd war that you have created, increasing all his divine power. Issei. With everything from the beginning, huh? Then I'll do the same, increasing his darkness, and the two powers would collide, creating powerful gusts of wind that would send the same destroyed buildings flying. Everyone around them would be forced to retreat or potentially get hurt just by the power emanating from these two titans. Rias. Incredible, only their auras can cause something like that, scared like the others. Michael. I didn't remember Metatron having this power, surprised. Azazel. Hey Surziches, why does Issei look so different? Referring to his now white skin with dark tones. Note. Issei would not be forced to use assault mode since in his fight against Mael in the manga, it is seen that only by materializing his darkness is he strong enough to face him, so it would be the same power only without assault mode. Surziches. I don't know, but I don't think it's a good thing. For now, we should help our army defeat the prisoners. Michael. That's right, let's go fighting alongside the soldiers to defeat Elizabeth and the others. The enormous war would begin again, and little by little the demonic families and more soldiers from heaven, along with fallen angels, would begin to arrive, beginning to put more and more pressure on Issei's team, since individually they were much more powerful than any of them. There were thousands and thousands attacking, 4 of them at the same time. After the return of that one, the war would finally have begun for the fate of the world. The demons Issei and Dark, the human Elizabeth, the angel Mael, the vampire Alucard, and the Elfarin would be facing 3 entire factions, which were the angels, fallen angels and demons. Many races such as werewolves and Nokomadas would not intervene in this war and would remain neutral since they had nothing against Issei and the others who threatened to destroy the 3 main factions. Little by little the factions began to take advantage of the prisoners since there were thousands and thousands against them. 6. The angel Mael would be facing Michael, which was the second most powerful angel in heaven, and Issei against Metatron, the most powerful angel and the closest to God, while the other prisoners would be facing the huge army. On the other hand, in a very faraway place, we see the young Zeldrus heading towards the castle of the powerful god Zeus, and upon arriving he would see the old man on his throne with a very serious face. Zeldrus. Zeus-sama, have you felt it too? He would ask while breathing heavily. Zeus. Yes, the war has begun, and your brother is having a fierce war that they could lose. Comment. Zeldrus. Please Zeus-sama, let me go help my brother, begging. Zeus. If that's what you want, I'll do it. I won't try to stop you, but remember that I can't help you if they're about to kill you. Standing up. Zeldrus. Thank you very much, leaving the castle, but not before hearing some last words from the god. Zeus. If you see my daughter, don't let her die. The demon would nod and finally leave. He would head towards where Athena lives, and upon arriving he would see the goddess and next to her a magic circle, while she had a serious face. Athena. I'm aware of everything. Zeldrus would smile and stand in the portal. Take care, my dear student, smiling confidently. Zeldrus. Of course, thank you. Athena saw him disappearing. On the other hand, in Asgard, Eststerosa was finishing putting on her outfit and in front of her was the god Odin, who was looking at her with a smile. Odin. You're ready, go and help your brother, proud of the hero of Asgard. Eststerosa. I will do that, thank you very much. Odin saw him disappearing into the portal. Meanwhile in the underworld, the war continued and Issei was having a fierce battle against the most powerful being Metriton. They were truly equal in a great bare-knuckle battle which when colliding created powerful shocks that destroyed everything around them. Metriton. You've become strong, demon, but not enough. Pointing at the face. Issei. More than you expect, dodging the blow and giving a right hook to his enemy's stomach. The angel would manage to block the blow by putting his knee down and starting the fierce fist fight again. On the other hand, Male was having a fierce sword battle against Miguel, being very evenly matched. Miguel. How can an angel like you be at my level? I would ask, surprised. Male. Because you created me for this, to be a soldier like my brother, and I will not forgive you. I swear that the 3 clans will disappear from this world. Angry. The prisoner would launch a thrust at the angel's face, but she would manage to dodge it narrowly, receiving a cut on her cheek. She would immediately attempt to cut the enemy's neck with her 2 swords, but Male would duck and dodge the attack. They would continue clashing swords with great power and at impressive speed. In another part of the underworld, we see how 2 portals open in very different places from each other. These were Zeldris and Estarrosa, who had arrived in the underworld but would be very confused since they thought they were going to appear in the middle of the war. Zeldrus. Where am I? He would ask himself, confused. Estarrosa. Why did Odin Sama bring me to this place and not during the war? Seeing the peaceful landscape. Zeldrus. There is no time to lose, concentrating to feel the energy of the warriors in the war. Estterosa. Asia, there they all are. Taking out her wings and heading at high speed towards her brother as well as Zeldrus. Alucard. Damned, there are many of them and they are increasingly cornering us, killing soldiers with effort. Elizabeth. It doesn't matter, we already knew that something like this could happen, so we have to do what is necessary, she would comment while fighting. Rin. Those are feeling the power of Zeldrus and Estarrosa approaching at great speed. I see, for now I won't say anything. Note. Since Rin is an elf, she is a specialist in magic, that's why she can feel the power of the brothers and the others can't. Issei. Damned angel, die now. Putting his 2 hands together and hitting his enemy's head. Metriton. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but God hasn't entrusted me with that mission. Protecting himself from the blow with both arms, forming an X on his head. Issei. God is dead. Doing a 360 turn and kicking. Metriton. That's what you think, covering himself from the blow with his enormous wings, but retreating a few meters. Issei. What do you mean? Calming down. Metriton. Why do you think it took so long to arrive? With a small smile. Issei. What are you? Opening his eyes wide at what would appear in the sky. Everyone in the war would stop their battles when they saw how 2 enormous portals opened from the sky, and from there appeared nothing more and nothing less than the Great Red and Office in her dragon form. Surziches. What are they doing here? Well, a drop of sweat fell down his forehead. Metriton. Damn, what I least expected, turning his back on the brown-haired boy who would be surprised by the angel's action. Issei. What's going on? What are they doing here? He would ask the angel, upset. Metriton. We're in big trouble, damn it, looking seriously at those dragons. Male. Why did those 2 dragons come here? He would ask, confused. Miguel. Don't you know? Looking at his rivals seriously, there's no way we should let those 2 be together, looking at the immensity of the dragons. Male. What do you mean? Answer. Angry. Miguel. My father once told me that those 2 were once one, but that many years ago 2 subjects separated them into what are now Office and the Great Red. During all these years, we have been avoiding that those 2 would get together again, because they would get together again, and the world would end. Surprising Miguel, the name of that being is Chaos, sweating from nerves. Big Red. They have neglected themselves with an imposing voice. During all these years they have managed to do a good job, but with this war, they have neglected us and underestimated us. Now their end must come. Illuminating his body. Office. Thanks to that brat, I will return and finish what I should have done a long time ago. Her body lighting up. Metriton. No, I will not allow you to fail, father, creating a huge magic circle and launching a powerful attack at the 2 dragons that were slowly merging. The attack would hit, but it would not harm them since it was too late. A powerful light would blind everyone, since it was so strong that Zeldris and Estarrosa himself, who were far away, would see it and would have to cover their eyes. Zeldris. What is that? Surprised to feel that power. Eststerosa. Maybe that's why Odin-sama didn't send me directly into battle, I need to get there as quickly as possible, increasing his speed. After a few seconds, everyone would see again and be terrified to see nothing more and nothing less than chaos, that being that so much has been said about and many have believed was false, but there it was, right before their eyes, a truly enormous being, larger than the Great Red Office, and with an appearance that seemed to be the universe itself. Chapter The Final Fight. Everyone would see how the most powerful being in existence had returned after so long, the being above everything and everyone, chaos had returned. The three factions who were present, in addition to the prisoners, Issei, Metriton, and Miguel, could not believe what they had in front of them, a being that far exceeded their powers, since it is something they had never been able to imagine. Issei. What is that? He would ask, surprised to see that giant being. Metriton. That's Metriton, while a drop fell down his forehead. Zeldrus. I can't believe it with fear. Azazel. I really thought it was a legend, but no, that being is the most powerful thing I've ever felt in my entire life. Nervous. Michael. Father was right, he really does exist. Terrified. The leader of the sky was the most afraid, as he was one of the few who knew who chaos really was and how much destruction it could cause. No one could move. They simply stared at the enormous being who had finally returned. Chaos. After so many years my plan turned out just as I had planned. Calmly. Zeldrus. Plan, he would ask himself, confused. Michael. That's right, that's why I told everyone not to let Officer Big Red get together, clenching his fist angrily. Azazel. But who is he really? Looking at the angel. Michael. He is the creator of everything, the races, the powers and life, he created everything millions of years ago. Everyone hearing that would be speechless. Father, God, told me that he is the descendant of the supreme deity, which was the first creation of chaos, along with the first demon king, who is much older than the original Lucifer. Nobody could process the angel's words so quickly, and they would simply remain silent, trying to understand everything. But thousands of years ago, a powerful group called the Seven Deadly Sins expelled him from the earth and created a seal throughout the earth so that he could not enter, but I still do not know how he managed to separate in two to enter the earth without the seal noticing him. Chaos. So you are the son of both of them, eh? Now I will return the favor to your parents. This powerful titan would raise his arm, and space would begin to deform in his fist. It would seem as if everything were deforming, and at a speed that no one could see he would throw a blow at the brown-haired boy that would send him to the ground. No one could believe what had happened. Issei, who was the terror of many, was defeated in a single blow by that being, who seemed not to have tried in the slightest. Chaos. Good, looking at the supernatural beings who were in shock. You my creations, now all will obey me if you don't want to disappear. Rin. Don't buck with me, no one will obey someone who just appeared, she would say to herself, angry, but she would be surprised to see how all the races knelt before him without saying a single word, even the leaders. The great silence opened in the environment, but the chaos would realize that Metriton, Miguel, Rin, Elizabeth, Alucard, Dark Normail would kneel, so he would address them. Chaos. So you're the rebels, huh? Sarcastically. Metriton. I will never kneel before you, I only obey Father, God, with a serious face. Dark. Who do you think you are, insect? Do you think you're someone important, appearing out of nowhere and ordering us around? I'd rather die than follow your orders. Wielding his sword. The seven rebels would stand on guard, ready to fight against the powerful chaos, while the other beings simply watched, since if they made any movement, they would disappear in an instant. Chaos. They remind me of an old group looking for a moment at the seven deadly sins in the place of those seven warriors. Good, then let's begin. Extending his arms. All those present would appear on a huge floating island, and beneath it was nothing more and nothing less than a black hole, which appeared to be the sky, completely white and with much greater gravity as well as less oxygen. Azazel. What is this? When he finished speaking, he, like everyone else, would fall to the ground as if they were being absorbed. Michael. But what? Trying to stand up. The seven rebels could stay flying since their great powers allowed them to, but the others couldn't. Alucard. Gravity has increased about 200 times or so. Comment. Rin. It doesn't matter, we'll endure this as if nothing happened, fixing his gaze on the enemy. Chaos. What do you think of this place? Comment. Arc. It's an excellent place for your grave, throwing a powerful fire with the help of his powerful sword. The fire would simply disappear upon touching the being in front of them, which would not surprise anyone, since they knew it could do nothing to it. Arc. As I imagined. Seriously. Metriton. Listen, even though I don't like it either, we'll have to team up or we'll die easily. For sure. Elizabeth. What a surprise to hear that from someone like you, I would comment without any feeling. Male. It's something we all need, not just us, I would answer. Chaos. Listen to my creations, as I like to be someone benevolent with my creations, I will give them a small advantage. This would begin to shrink and would remain with a height of 2 meters, with 30 centimeters more or less. What do you think? Let's start with the game. Closing his eyes. Metriton. Listen, we just have to buy time, soon someone will arrive who could help us against him preparing. This angel would increase his divine power and put on his imposing armor, all the others would also increase their powers, and the fight would begin. They would all launch themselves to attack that being with their different magical powers. The demon Dark along with the angels Mael and Miguel would attack with their powerful swords at short and long range, the seraphim Metatron would attack with his bare fists, the human Elizabeth and the Alpharin with different magical powers, while the vampire Alucard attacked from afar, creating hundreds of spears, King type in his last form of Fairy King. All the attacks hit the powerful Chaos who would not even move an inch and would allow himself to be attacked from all possible angles. After a few long seconds of pure attacks, they would stop to see the result, but no attack had taken effect, and this would leave them terrified, since they had gone with everything they had. Mael. He doesn't really feel our attacks backing away like the others. Chaos. If you're done with your games, it's my turn without moving a muscle. Everyone would be on guard and in just an instant the enemy would appear behind the angel Michael, and with the fingers of his right hand, he would stab her entire body, but he would not pierce her, but would use a type of magical power that would simply leave her unconscious, or so everyone would think. Metriton. Miguel. Going to his sister. Chaos would finish her off by giving a final stab to the chest, sending her flying off the island into the void where the enormous black hole was. Metriton would reach out holding her hand, but little by little he would begin to be absorbed by the hole. Metriton. I won't let you die, sister, trying with all his might to escape. None of the prisoners would attempt to help him, as they were all waiting for the chaos to prevent him from making any further moves. The seraphim, Metatron, would begin to be absorbed, but at the last moment, Michael would help them, along with Serziches and Azazel, who were finally able to stand. Michael. Come on, brother. Using their maximum powers, they would be able to return to the island, but something would leave them surprised. Metriton. Michael the First no longer feel his divine power shocked. Azazel. That bastard must have taken all her magic, that's why she wasn't hurt. Angry. Metriton. Damn, you were about to kill my sister. Manifesting his imposing armor. This powerful angel would launch himself into chaos, disregarding his own life. The creator would simply watch as he approached, but he would stop in his tracks as he saw the entire world begin to crumble, returning to the underworld. Everyone was shocked, but they would hear a voice that would shock them all. Don't worry, Metriton, Miguel is fine, and that's what matters. Everyone would watch it being flying with its hands behind its back. Azazel. That is God shocked. All the angels could not believe what they saw. The one many believed dead was right in front of them, but the most affected would be Michael, who would shed tears of joy at seeing his father again. God. My children, with a tone of voice that caused peace. Michael. Father. Tears kept falling. God. Michael looking at him with a beautiful smile while the angel cried, I would like to chat with everyone, but there is no time, there is someone who threatens everyone's life, and my duty is to stop him with great tranquility. Metriton. Father smiling. God. Good job, my son, you've done enough time surprising everyone. Michael. Brother, you knew that father was alive, drying his tears. Metriton. It's a long story, brother, when we're done with this I'll tell you with a small smile. God. Where is Issei? He would ask himself while flying slowly towards the chaos with great tranquility. Elizabeth. He was the first one I shot down, he hasn't appeared since, I suppose he's unconscious. With respect. God. I see, could you go for him? I would ask politely. Elizabeth. Sure, I'll go. Going over to where Issei had flown off. Rias. Incredible, that's the biblical god. With great surprise like the others. Chaos. So you're the descendant of the supreme deity, huh? Smiling. God. That's right, since I was created by Mother, I knew that my responsibility was to prevent you from entering this world, but I failed in my only mission, now it's my turn to fix my big mistake, increasing his power in a divine aura. Put the video on loop. Everyone present would feel a great peace, but at the same time, a great fear, sensing the god's monstrous power. The two divine beings would launch themselves at each other, and a great fight would begin. Everyone would be surprised since finally, chaos was moving and avoiding being attacked, and all thanks to the powerful god who was pressuring his rival. On the other hand, Elizabeth would go in search of the chestnut and find him. After a few seconds, she would revive him, but he would be very injured. Elizabeth would tell him everything that had happened up to that moment. Meanwhile, the prisoners simply watched the fight between these two. Rin. Incredible, he didn't even flinch at our attacks, and against God he has to dodge them. How much difference is there between our powers? Surprised, but at the same time powerless, not being able to do anything. Alucard. That's right, I thought I heard that Metatron was the angel closest to God, and he didn't even scratch chaos. Seriously. Mael. TSH watching the fight. Issei. I see, so the case is that powerful. Standing up. Elizabeth. That's right, but for now stay here, you need to heal your wounds, and it could take me a long time. Starting to use her magic on a chestnut tree. Asia. I could help you appearing behind the human. Elizabeth. You're Asian, aren't you? Your sacred gear is very useful. Come on, leaving him some space and healing the brown-haired boy faster. He wouldn't say a word about Asia since she hadn't done anything to him and would simply watch the battle between God and the case, who had increased their intensity and were now nowhere to be seen. You could simply see two flashes colliding with each other. The fight between these two was complete chaos. The entire underworld was being affected and slowly destroyed by the clash of these two titans. A few minutes would pass and these two would finally separate. Chaos was unharmed, just like God, but he seemed more tired. God. I see you still haven't been able to awaken your 100% with a smile. Chaos. That's right, the power I'm using right now is only 50% of my entire arsenal with a smug smile. God. If that's the case then I must defeat you as quickly as possible, launching into the fight again. On the other hand, Dark and Male felt very frustrated, so they would plan something. The two would approach and get the attention of their companions. Alucard. What are you doing? He would ask, confused. Dark. We'll just fight. Male. We were not created to observe, we were created to fight in the field, both smiling. A strong light would begin to cover both of them, and when it faded they would see a completely different being. This one had traits of dark and evil in a single person and emanated a combined power between darkness and divinity. Without waiting a second longer, he would jump into the fight and hit Chaos in the face, which would move him away a few meters, surprising God a little, who would see something never seen before. God. Incredible seeing that he could mix darkness and light. Mark, Male and Dark. It's a trick that Issei taught me during training, but I won't last more than 5 minutes, so I'll go with everything I have, looking at the enemy. Zeldrus. You are not alone, appearing at his side. Eststerosa. We will fight by your side, smiling. Issei. You guys surprised as he continued to be healed. Zeldrus. Brother, it's a long story, but now I know the truth. They have manipulated my mind, and I will not forgive those who did it, but now is not the time. With a defiant smile he faces the chaos. Eststerosa. I'm sorry I tried to kill you, from now on we will protect each other like mom and dad wanted, with great tranquility, despite being close to chaos. Mark. You again, looking at Zeldrus. I don't care what happens, just don't get in my way, launching himself into the fight. The three would launch themselves into battle, being very evenly matched, their magical powers rivaling those of chaos. Meanwhile God would retreat and go with a chestnut. God. Issei with great peace. Issei. Are you God? He would ask without caring about having him in front of him. While he was healing Issei, he couldn't stand and would faint without further ado, because he couldn't bear the emotion of having the very God in front of him. Issei. You do have fans, I would comment with a small smile. God. Listen Issei, we are the only ones who can defeat him. When you finish healing we have to put your brothers aside. And Mark, I would comment with a little more seriousness while watching the chaos fight. Issei. What? What do you mean? He would ask, confused. God. It's a long story, but the summary is that you and I are equal. This would surprise everyone who was listening, as you may have heard from Chaos. I am the descendant of the supreme deity, while you are a descendant of the demon king, therefore we are direct descendants of Chaos, and the only ones who can seal it again. This would leave the brown-haired boy and Elizabeth, who was healing the brown-haired boy, speechless. Issei. What did you say? I don't understand, surprised. God. What I mean is that you have the power of darkness and light within you, since you are from the same family as the heroes called Meliodas and Elizabeth, who belong to the 7 deadly sins, making it clear why Issei was so dangerous and explaining his incredible potential. After so many generations finally appears someone who has obtained the same blood of an angel and a demon. That is why your brothers only have darkness, but you are different, Issei. You are special, turning to look at the brown-haired. Issei. I understand, remembering an event from training. Flashback. He would wake up on the island where he was training and see everything destroyed and the prisoners somewhat injured. Issei. What happened, worried. Elizabeth. Don't you remember? She would ask, confused. Issei. What do you mean? Confused. Male. Look at your hand, Issei. The brown-haired boy would see his right hand and notice a divine magic, surprising himself, what is this? But the magic would disappear quickly and would not manifest again. End of flashback. Meanwhile in the fight, Zeldrus would throw a giant dark fireball at his enemy, who would grab it with his fingers and make it smaller until it disappeared, but right behind it would appear this Rosa, who would create an enormous magic circle and would stick hundreds of magic swords, which hit Asgardian magic. Chaos. Who do you think you are? Using a magic on his back which would make the swords disappear into ashes. Mark. This created me appearing in front of him and striking him with dark divine magic. This powerful blow would send him flying against a destroyed building. Mark would create hundreds of magic circles around him, from which many divine and demonic attacks would come out directed towards Chaos. Surziches. Incredible seeing that, surprised. Michael. I never thought I would see something like that, our two races in one being with a happy smile. Azazel. They had that saved, huh? If they had used that from the beginning, the three clans would have disappeared by now. Nervous but happy at the same time. Chaos. Who do you take me for? Coming out of that great destruction somewhat hurt. Do you think something like that will hurt me? Noticing everyone that his power had increased. Mark. Damn, he's slowly regaining his power. Zeldrus. It would have to decrease its power, not increase it. We have to try harder. Comment. Male. That's right, brother, let's keep fighting until Issei and the others have recovered, launching the three again. On the other hand, the brown-haired boy would already be almost completely healthy, but Elizabeth would not let him go until all the wounds had disappeared, but in a moment they would see how Mark flew at an impressive speed against the ground, while their bodies separated and became dark and male again, chaos in the sky with even greater power, and male in his right hand while Zeldrus in his left, both holding each other by the neck. Issei. Estarrosa, Zeldrus trying to stand up. Chaos. Who do they think they are? Simple creations rebelling against the creator. I will never forgive this. I will make them disappear from life and death. With great anger. Everyone would see how the bodies of Eststerosa and Male began to disappear into particles as they tried to escape from the hands of Chaos, who remained unfazed by the blows of the brothers until they tragically disappeared as if they were burnt paper. No one could believe what they had seen. A great fear along with a great chill would pass through the bodies of everyone present. Not even God could feel the presence of these two and would quickly realize what had happened. God. He disappeared them from the face of existence, clenching his fist in fury. Issei. Oh, what do you mean? Walking slowly towards the god with a lost look. God. Issei, Zeldris and Estarrosa are no longer alive or dead, they ceased to exist. Comment. Issei. They what? Looking at the floor while his hair covered his eyes. There would be a great silence in the environment, no one would say a single word after what happened, while God looked at the chaos with great anger, and he would turn to see the brown-haired man. Chaos. They asked for it, no creation will rebel and live as if nothing happened, you are next with a face of superiority. In a moment, everyone would see how dark particles and others as white as snow began to emerge from Issei's body, followed by a suffocating atmosphere in which everyone would have difficulty breathing. A black and white aura would begin to manifest from his body. Chaos. Is that it? Watching as the boy's power began to get out of control. Rias. What is that, brother? She would ask scared. Successor. I don't know, all I know is that he is creating dark and divine power inside his body which are not compatible, and it is getting out of control with great seriousness. Michael. I see, thanks to Issei, Dark and Male came up with the idea of fusing. Maybe in his training Issei unintentionally awakened that power. He would say mentally. Akeno. If this continues, Issei's body won't resist and he'll succumb nervous. Meanwhile, the dark and divine auras continued to manifest from the chestnut's body, attempting to take control of the chestnut. This would not go unnoticed by Chaos, who would realize what was happening, but would continue to observe to see what would happen. The chestnut's body was seen in a redder tone, as it was being pressured by these two energies that were in its body, creating very powerful gusts of wind, which would make everyone present have to look away, while God simply looked without any fear just a few meters from the chestnut. God. Calm down, Issei, you can do it, control those powers, and you will be as powerful as no one has ever imagined, he would say to himself mentally while looking seriously. Everyone would see how little by little the darkness and the light would begin to calm down, and Issei would begin to move slowly. He would take out some enormous wings which were dark and white, his eyes had a kind of mark, and on his forehead, a dark mark appeared. Michael. Those marks on the eyes, they are like the ancient angels surprised. Successor. That mark, I remember seeing it in a book from thousands of years ago. Shocked. Finally Issei would manage to control those two powers and would take on an incredible appearance which combined dark power and divine power. God. You did it, and that power is incredible, he would say to himself with a small smile. While Issei would look at his hands with some surprise and then stare at the Chaos who would prepare to fight. Rias. Unincredible, while a drop fell down her forehead. Sererg. How is this possible? How can something like this exist? Unable to believe it. Elizabeth. You are incredible, Issei, I always knew that you would change your lives, that's why I joined you, you are just as I thought, you are someone who can make your dreams come true. Watching with pride. In a moment and without anyone being able to see him, the chestnut tree would appear in front of the Chaos who would immediately notice, and these two would look into each other's eyes for a few seconds, while everything began to shake, the earth would begin to split in two, and the sky would darken. No one would be able to react in those 10 seconds, since the first to attack would be Issei, who would deliver an incredible blow to Chaos's stomach, which would create a huge gust of wind behind it, which would take many buildings and houses destroyed. The leaders Successor, Michael and Azazel, would have to create a barrier together so that this simple attack wouldn't harm them. Chaos. So you want to go with punches, huh? Smiling. This powerful destroyer would do a 360 turn and would manage to deliver an incredible knee to the brown-haired man's face that would send him flying, going after him at great speed. God. Don't forget me appearing before him. The divinity god would kick him in the jaw, spinning around and hitting him with an elbow in the back of the neck, sending him flying in the same direction as the brown-haired boy, which he was expecting, jumping towards the chaos and receiving it with a knee to the stomach, which would send him flying to the sky. But the chaos would quickly recover, and Issei and God would go against him, starting an incredible distribution of blows 2 against 1. For everyone it was a fight they could never have imagined, despite the fact that Issei and God had barely met, they fought with great combination. It was a historic day that would never be erased from the minds of anyone present. In a moment it would be seen how Issei and God would begin to take advantage against Chaos, which was being constantly beaten, but Chaos would get angry and use magic to separate the two from it. Everyone would feel like the whole hell was shaking, and many beings would have their blood run cold, while others would simply lose consciousness just by feeling that monstrous energy. God. I thought you wouldn't use magic calmly. Chaos. The games are over, I have finally reached my 100% and I will make this entire world disappear, along with all the existing races with great seriousness. Issei. First you'll have to make us disappear, calling the attention of Chaos. He had prepared a huge and powerful attack of darkness and divinity which he would launch at his enemy, who would not give him time to dodge it and would hit him full on. The massive attack would continue for hundreds of kilometers until it exploded, visible from where everyone was. Alucard. That was very powerful, without a doubt that attack could have wiped out any being surprised, as were his companions who were watching that battle. Metroton. I never thought father would team up with him, referring to God. God. That was very powerful, somewhat surprised. Issei. But he keeps by being interrupted. Chaos would appear above him and hit him in the head, sending him flying to the ground. Before the brown-haired man touched the ground, Chaos would appear in front of God, giving him a blow to the stomach that would make him vomit blood, followed by a knee to the face and a kick to the arm, sending him flying in less than 2 seconds. The brown-haired man would be a meter from touching the ground, but Chaos would appear, who would put his 2 hands together and give him another blow to the back so that he bounces on the ground, then he would grab him by the head and begin to drag him in a brutal way across the ground. A large trail of blood was left along the way, but the brown-haired man would grab Chaos's arm with both hands, and his body would become completely dark and divine elements separating to reunite above Chaos, taking the form of Issei again, so that he could create a sword of light, and was about to cut off his head, which would fail, since Chaos would react quickly, dodging the attack. Note. What Issei did is the same thing that the Logia-type fruits in One Piece do, or for those who haven't seen One Piece, something like what Majin Buu does. These two would stare at each other for a few seconds, and the first to attack would be Chaos, who would have an attack in his hand with the same shape as a planet. Chaos. Let's see if you can stop this attack by throwing it at him. The attack would be directed at Issei, but from 1 second to the next, he would take on an enormous form. The brown-haired boy would prepare his sword of light and combine it with darkness. Issei. Full counter. Returning the attack. Chaos. That technique without moving from your place. The planet-shaped power was directed towards him, but it would create a huge black hole which would swallow the attack and disappear. Chaos. Reminds me of the son of the Demon King, seriously. God. I told you not to forget me appreciating above him. This powerful god would create a divine whip surrounding the entire body of his enemy and breaking it into thousands of pieces. Everyone would be shocked to see that, but the villain's body would return to the same form, but with a face of fury towards the god. Everyone would see how time began to go in slow motion. Chaos would quickly turn to hit the god while he was still in the air. His arm, while moving, was leaving a kind of smoke in the shape of the universe, but when he was a few centimeters from hitting his rival, the brown-haired man would appear below him and hit him in the leg to make him fall. Issei. I've got you, throwing a punch to his face as he fell, filling his fist with dark and divine power. This blow would go by as Chaos would teleport on his back and aim at the brown-haired boy with a serious face. Chaos. I'll take away all your powers, trying to stab his entire body with his fingers. Issei. Damn, that technique is what takes away your powers, and I won't have time to dodge it, he would say mentally. Chaos was about to finish him off, but he would see how the same god's whip surrounded Issei's body and lifted him into the air, dodging its attack. Quickly, the whip would emerge from the chestnut-haired man's body, who, along with God, would deliver an incredible punch to the enemy's head, slamming him into the ground and creating a huge crater almost 200 meters across. Surziches. What happened? He would ask, surprised. Michael. I don't know, it was so fast I couldn't see anything after Chaos rebuilt his body. Michael. Only a second passed, but it seemed like it was longer for them, impressed, just like the others. The chestnut-haired boy and God would quickly move away from the villain, but they wouldn't let their guard down for a moment. A few seconds would pass, but everyone would see a bolt of lightning strike from the sky, followed by a massive explosion that would blind everyone for a few seconds due to the dust. Issei. Now what? Angry. Odd. Returned to his original form commentary. All supernatural beings would see from afar how chaos would return to its giant form while the dust scattered. Issei. So that's your original appearance, huh? He would say mentally. Chaos. Now then, come for me, giving a powerful blow to the ground. Everyone would see how reality itself was splitting, and they would see a space never seen before. It seemed to be the universe, but they could still breathe, being forced to fly since there was no place to stand. Surziches. What is this? He would ask. Rin. This is surprised. Alucard. What's wrong, Rin? Confused. Rin. This place is where the first Elven King lived, and a place inaccessible to any being seeing all of space itself. Issei. This doesn't change anything, now you're more immune going for the enemy. Odd. Wait, Issei, stopping him, don't go like that, if he brought us here it's for a reason. Comment. Issei. What is this place? I would ask. Odd. I don't know, but being interrupted. Wait for the music to start at minute 1XD. The enormous titan would appear behind these two, who would not be able to turn around, as they would begin to receive thousands of blows from this powerful being for a few seconds. The brown-haired man would react and create a sword with which he could fully counter his blow, returning it and leaving time for God to create thousands of circles around them, launching enormous spears of light, which the brown-haired man would reinforce with darkness, hitting the giant squarely. Issei. Damn. Appearing in front of his face and giving him an incredible blow. On the other side, God would appear and repeat the same blow, returning it to the brown-haired man, who would cover his hand with dark and divine power, giving him another even stronger blow to send him back to God, but the chaos would recompose itself, and he would point with both hands at God and Issei, who would begin to be crushed by something invisible. Issei. What is this? I would ask. Odd. He's using gravity at will, being crushed. Chaos. They die right here, being interrupted. He would be hit by a combined attack by Alucard, Elizabeth, Rin, Dark, Mael, Metriton and Miguel, who would manage to disperse the chaos, freeing the brown-haired man and the god. Issei. Take this, giving him a powerful blow to the knee, destabilizing. Odd. 10 turning 360 to give him a powerful kick to the chest that would send him flying several meters. Chaos. You all will be destroyed, furious. He would join his two hands and create a giant attack in the shape of a galaxy which would impact everyone, including Issei and God. Odd. That's impossible, surprised. Issei. God calling his attention. I have an idea, but you'll have to lend me some of your energy, surprising him. Odd. It's okay, as long as it's you, there's no problem, touching his back and giving him his energy. Chaos. Die. Launching the enormous galaxy-shaped attack, all existence will disappear again, and I myself will create another one. He would scream like crazy. Rias. What are you doing? Noticing that neither Issei nor God moved. Michael. They must have a plan. He would shout as that huge attack made a deep sound. Surziches. What kind of plan is this? To die? He would ask, terrified. Odd. Is this part of your plan, Issei? Screaming. Issei. Yes. If it goes well we will triumph, if it goes wrong we will all disappear, but what does it matter? If one way or another we will disappear. With a small defiant smile, here I am, I will wait for you, I swear by my brothers that I will not let myself be killed by this power, he would say mentally. The galaxy would hit the chestnut tree, causing injuries all over its body, while God was somewhat protected by the chestnut tree's body. Everyone thought they would die, but they would realize something. Rias. Look. Impacting everyone, that attack is starting to get smaller. Meanwhile, the chestnut tree screamed in suffering like never before. It couldn't take it anymore. If it weren't for its determination, it would have already succumbed. Any other being would have died just a few meters away from that attack. Odd. Hold on, Issei. Whatever you're planning has to go right, or we'll all die. Encouraging him. The demon Surziches and everyone else were beginning to feel their bodies burning, even though they were far away from the place of the fight. Azazel. Incredible, we are more than 500 meters away, and yet that power is affecting us. I can't imagine what Issei must be feeling. In pain from the burns. The brown-haired boy slowly began to absorb the galaxy until Chaos finally realized this and couldn't believe it, couldn't believe that someone could endure something like that, and after a few seconds the galaxy would finally disappear and Chaos would see the brown-haired boy still flying, but dead, while God looked at Chaos protecting Issei's body. Chaos. I can't believe it, that kid was able to stop it, surprised, but that's not all, now it's just you. Flying at high speed, God. A few meters from reaching it he would stop suddenly as he would see how the brown eyes opened and looked at him defiantly. Chaos. What? How did you survive that? He would ask, shocked. No one could believe what they were seeing. Issei had survived, and not only that, he looked at his enemy with confidence. Issei. Here all chaos ends, go back to where you were, taking out an enormous aura even bigger than chaos itself. Chaos? What is this? Am I afraid of my own creation? He would ask himself mentally while a drop of sweat fell down his forehead. Odd. And to think that this was your plan, you are really crazy, with a small smile. Issei. That's right, I told you that if it went well I could finish him off, smiling. Odd. Then I will protect you until you are ready. Issei. Thank you, concentrating. Chaos. Damned, I will wipe it out of existence, addressing them both. The powerful god would stand in the middle, and they would have a fist fight which god would start to lose since he was too weak, but after a few seconds Issei was ready and would approach Chaos, who could not move from fear. Issei. This is thanks to all the attacks since the beginning of the fight, it's thanks to all the wounds that you yourself inflicted on me, and this creating a sword of darkness, it's for my brother's revenge. Counter. Hitting him with the sword and creating an explosion so huge that it would be seen throughout hell. Several minutes would pass where everyone would feel that the chaos had disappeared, and with that the soldiers would return to their homes. Many were looking for Issei, but the first to find him would be Elizabeth herself, who would cure him with the help of God, and thus the three could return to normal. The body of the brown-haired man, which no longer had human form, but was simply a burned mass. Issei. What happened? I would ask, but I would see his two brothers. Zeldrus. Hello, brother. Smiling. Eststerosa. You did well, with his typical calm attitude. The brown-haired boy couldn't take it anymore and hugged them while crying with joy, to which they hugged him back. Odd. After the death of Chaos I was able to recreate them, the only thing that did not allow me to revive them was the presence of Chaos, but now that it is no longer there I managed to do it, smiling. Surziches. Issei, Zeldrus, Estarrosa, calling the attention of these three. We are sorry, we did not mean to do it, kneeling. Odd. Listen, Issei, part of the plan of Chaos was also to control the minds of the demons, but I managed to take away that magic, and they returned to being themselves without the seed, which made them hostile against your family. Comment. Issei. I see, alright, satisfying all the demons. So everyone would return to their homes, God would return to heaven with Michael, Metroton and Miguel, while Issei would return to the human world with his two brothers to protect it, and so everyone would live peacefully after that battle. The end. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.